So I want to welcome everybody to the Board of Selectmen meeting for Monday, June 12th, 7 p.m. It is our regular meeting. I'm going to get started with our first order, which is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. We have on our agenda a section where we were supposed to meet with the Board of Education. That meeting was by the request of the Board of Education was revamped to their meeting on Wednesday. We're going to sit there and skip this section of the meeting. I know that in our agenda, we will have issues to discuss information that was provided to us by the Board of Education, actually not provided to us, but provided to the planning and zoning. And we'll sit there and potentially speak about it later in the meeting. I'd like to move on to public speak. And so we're going to start with Linda Fish.
All set.
Okay, Diane Grenier.
Yeah, I would just like to request as a courtesy to us Zoomers out here that the Board of Selectmen members and speakers turn on their video so that we can see your lovely faces as you speak.
Okay.
I know there's some members that don't like to do that, but I think it's important for the residents to be able to see our Board of Selectmen in action. Thank you.
Sure.
Get the thing on top.
Okay. So we're going to move on to Diane Choquette.
There.
I'm all set, thanks.
Kathy and Mike Palazzi.
Do you have anything to say?
No.
I think we're all set. Thank you, Jeff.
Great. Valerie Bruno.
All set, thank you.
All right, and then I have a phone number. I'm assuming it's Dennis.
Yes,
Dennis.
all set.
Great that you could join us. Okay,
All
so
set for now.
all right, thank you. Let's move on to item 6, additions and deletions to the agenda. Do any of the members have any items that they want to add?
I have 2 additions, please.
Sure.
I'd like to add 13G signage on Long Hill Soccer Field or Veterans Monument Field. And
Okay.
I'd like, yep, 13H. I'd like to call it, try to make this easy. 3x3 summer tournament.
You said 3 Rivers.
3-on-3 summer tournament.
Anybody else?
No, but I'll second hers.
Okay.
All
All right,
Jeff,
all those in favor?
Jeff, I just wanted to, what was the reason we moved the special meeting? Can you please elaborate?
The special meeting was moved. I will give you the exact story, Jeff, so everybody's aware. And Jeff was at the meeting. I requested from Jerry that the meeting be on Monday, the 12th, to get this moving because the superintendent told me that she was, or told the public that she was going to have the list of items available the day after the P&Z meeting. To accomplish that on that night, we had to do it the next morning is get it on our agenda so that we could all sit there and have it on our agenda legally. So I requested for Eric to put that on the agenda. And then I received a text from Jerry Cremay, the chairman of the Board of Education, requesting that, or telling me that his members couldn't make our meeting, and they requested that we attend their meeting on Wednesday. We had already put it on our agenda. It was already posted. I had gotten that later in the afternoon. So it went out the way that it went out, and it is canceled. And I communicated with all of the members on this phone call or on this meeting right now regarding their opportunity to make the Wednesday meeting. And we're gonna, whoever can attend will attend. Scott will not be attending because he is on planning and zoning. That is how it happened. That's how it went down. Anybody else? Any other questions related to that? Okay. I do believe we have it in a later in our agenda to discuss. Is that accurate, Eric? I think I went through that. Is it
To
in-
discuss the, not specifically.
That's why
Probably so.
that's why I'm questioning that, why we're not discussing it tonight. I was prepared to discuss it tonight. As a group, because we can all make it tonight, so we should all discuss it.
Well, if you would like to discuss the issues that were addressed, by the superintendent and the list of safety concerns, I'd be happy to sit there and do that with the Board of Selectmen. You need to add it to the agenda, Jeff.
I'd like to, let's see, what number are we up to now?
Well,
13 on,
There is 13C, which is discussion of special permit application. So you could discuss it there if you wanted, or you could choose to discuss it in executive session if you wanted. Your call.
No, I'd like to publicly discuss this.
yeah, I'm in all of these issues, so if you're gonna do it, you're gonna do it in public. Right, so, and if you want to do it under that item, because that's what I thought it was the special permit application. You can, Jeff, but I would tell you to make 13I.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to adopt 13I to discuss the concerns from the Board of Education about the community center development project.
Seconded.
And just, why don't we sit there and move 13I to the beginning of our agenda and get this out of the way?
It's fine with me.
Anybody else? Anybody else have any issues with that?
No.
Okay, so 13I, Board of Education concerns regarding the community center. Any other items that people want to add or anything we want to delete? Okay, so is someone going to second 13I?
I think Adrian seconded both.
Okay,
I
and
did.
then all in favor? Aye.
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 All right, so let's talk about 13I, the Board of Education. We received from Superintendent Bruno a list of items, safety concerns, and I'm going to be really clear about the safety concerns. Those are all issues that after receiving that, I went to Eric Anderson. I asked Eric to have the appropriate expert get the answers to all of those issues. None of those are issues that the Board of Selectmen has any purview over. They're all related to the architect, the builder, and the engineer. And then there are specific concerns that also relate back to the fire marshal and the building inspector. So Eric, how are we doing with potential responses from the appropriate experts?
We have some, we don't have all of them. I'll get you whatever I can before Wednesday.
All right, that'd be appreciated.
I mean, I have to be candid. I'm not even sure why half of those are on there because I did the site walk with the Board of Education and those issues were addressed by the contractor and by us at that meeting. And with the exception of the deed and some issues that had to be, the contractor had offered to work with the principal for the evacuation plan. But other than that, those issues were all addressed. So I don't get it. I really don't.
We're gonna address them again to try to make this as nice as possible and to sit there and get this community center, senior center built. So I do understand your frustration. I get it, but is what it is. We're going to sit there and address it in open forum and public, and it's going to get addressed exactly as if I just spoke to you guys about. Any other issues related to the Board of Education and the information from Superintendent Bruno?
Adrian just spoke to the fact that there was one issue about the fire escape routes and emergency escape routes. And then the other open issue was the property line. I know Dennis is on the line, since we're all here. I don't know if Dennis can elaborate on what his viewpoint is on that before Wednesday.
I'm not ready to elaborate on that in full at this point in time, Jeff.
Okay,
I wasn't prepared to do that. I've been thinking about it. I could do it, but I'm not finished with my analysis. And I want to, I'd rather not say, frankly.
okay, that's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other issues related to this topic? I mean, I do realize it's a main, listen, if we cannot get the community center needs to be built for the benefit of the community. It's really that simple. The Board of Selectmen, honestly, all we are responsible for is identifying what the community is desires, and to sit there and put forth an option. And what we've done is done that. We sat there and listened to the community. They want a senior center, community center. We sat there and doing our best effort to sit there and do this. Every meeting that's been out there has been a public meeting. It's not as if the Board of Selectmen single-handedly handled the building committee. The building committee was done. Anyone in our community can sit there and volunteer for any committee anytime they want. And for the most part, we're going to sit there and accept them because we lack volunteers anyway. So reality of it is every meeting was out there. Every meeting could have been attended. The people that did it because they have the desire to sit there and do good work for the community. And we as a Board of Selectmen put it up in front of the groups that are sit there and approve or deny. So planning and zoning approves or denies, not the Board of Selectmen. So we're going to just sit there and move through the process and do it if it's in the best interest of the community, regardless of anything else that goes on. So this is how it's going to progress. And I will be attending the Board of Education meeting on Wednesday. Whether any of the other members of the board can make it or not, that's fine, but I will personally be in attendance. I'm rearranging my entire week to sit there and make it back for Wednesday's meeting.
Well, I mean, listen, I'll be candid. I'm not going to that meeting. I already rearranged my schedule once to do the walkthrough with the Board of Education and changed my vacation so that I could be here to do that. And
Totally understand. I get it.
all of those issues were addressed working with the Board of Education's designated member that was on the committee, working with the architect, working with our working group for the building. And he relayed the things that they had concerns about. We addressed those and tried to have, bullet points for all of those at the meeting. The contractor was there and worked through some of the, well, I should say some of all of the questions that were presented to him as concerns. And, the list started as one list of concerns a year ago. And then it became a new list of concerns. And now that we've addressed all those, now we have a new list of concerns. So it's a never ending cycle. I'm not going to play whack-a-mole with it. I'm not going to
Understood. But Adrian, just as a plan is a plan and a plan morphs, just like we were sitting there in our meeting on at the planning and zoning, any plan sits there and morphs. Any plan it's called a plan for a reason, and you evaluate the plan and you make a better option and you make a better decision. That's exactly what's going on with all this. I have no problem with the Board of Education sitting there having a certain list of concerns and then changing their list of concerns. But it just gets down to a point where we have to sit there and move forward. We have to get this done timely manner. The more we push everything out, the further into the next school year it goes. That's not what we want to happen. So I understand your issue. I understand you're not coming. I'm okay with it. I will sit there and go to the meeting and
I'm just gonna say flat out. We were told at that meeting that, the superintendent wants a parking lot taken care of. And if she doesn't get the parking lot, she's not signing off on what she thinks.
And listen, again, I sat there and I will sit there and address that issue to everybody else. It's a town asset. It's going to be maintained. It will be maintained. It doesn't matter. And you know, it really goes to this whole issue. This whole issue is it's all town money. The school is town money. The roads are town money. The parking lot is town money. It's all the same pot of funds. We are one community. We have to sit there and deal with it. The Board of Education is responsible for providing and to managing their funds to provide the best education they can for our community and for our children. I'm okay with that. I don't remember us ever having any discussions telling them how to spend their money. And I get that. And Adrian, I would sit there and say to you, if that parking lot needs to be maintained, I'm going to be the first person that steps up and says, maintain that parking lot and fix it. So if it's ever gone to CIP, and I haven't heard of it, I haven't heard of it.
It has not.
On me.
That's the whole point. If the school would follow the process for doing things like that, this wouldn't be an issue.
That's
But they
okay.
don't.
But that's not the point of this meeting and what we're talking about. So I understand what you're saying, that was a potential request. I understand that.
Unless you promise the superintendent a parking lot, she's gonna
Well,
probably end up.
let's move on to the next issue. So any other issues on this topic, Jeff, Paula? Jeff,
I'm good. I will not be able to attend Wednesday as well, so.
understood. We got it. All right. So we now crossed that one off our list. So 13I is off my list. God. All I'm gonna need a test. So we did public speak. So the treasurer's report, item 7. Eric, I know we don't have a treasurer on. Do you want to go through it?
So real quick, we finally basically have all our expenses in QuickBooks. And we've got all the revenue, although there's some late June or correction, we didn't have all the revenue in from the tax collector's office in the report. The good news is there are a number of individual line accounts where we're over budget, but overall we're under budget enough to be comfortable saying we're going to finish the year considerably in the black. And the Board of Finance, because of that, agreed to transfer the money from the resident state troopers, the excess from the resident state troopers line item into the line item that covers a newly created line item that would cover the vehicle purchase for senior transportation. So the treasurer will be back in Wednesday. We've got a lot of stuff to do because there's definitely a bunch of things that are misallocated. I have a big long list of things that I need to get reallocated. And as soon as I do that, we'll get you another list. I also.
Sorry, can I ask you one question? Because when I was reading this earlier, I had you were $500,000 short on revenue. You made that up in all the other accounts?
So. No, we did not. We made up some of it because we hadn't been accounting for the supplemental motor vehicle, which is, or the supplemental assessment, which was about $130,000 out of it. And it's also the fact that this was done as of June 1, so we're 10% of the budget year not accounted for there. I looked at the tax collector's report today. We're down to under 200,000. So there's basically more than $300,000 in there that's of revenue that's not accounted for in this budget.
That was my main concern as looking through these new reports that have to be modified. We have to make these much easier to digest for us and for the public. They have to be, you have to run one set of reports consolidated so that we just see groupings. And then you can sit there and drill down into the details. But I do think we need to look at that, Eric, because and there's not that much in total taxes left after comparing the two. So like you said, there's not a lot of tax dollars left to collect because the majority of it was collected at the beginning of the quarter. So I just like, I'll get with you after this meeting to drill down on them a little deeper to make sure that that's accurate. But your belief is that we will finish in a positive position and we have the monies to transfers to where we need to move the money.
Correct.
All right, you can go on, keep going.
So-
And I will tell you one thing, one last thing from an accounting perspective, just me mentally, I love the check register. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. And
So,
I recommend everybody in the public, and there's only like 4 of us on this meeting, that they look at that. I love the information provided there, and you can sit there and see in detail information that you're not seeing, you haven't seen in the past. We haven't shown that as the way we should have. I like that.
okay, so a couple of you have emailed me individually about specific questions you had with the check register. Is there anything at this point I can answer for you regarding that?
I have one question, Eric. When I asked about the Comcast bill, is that just for telephone and internet, or is that for cable too?
So that is strictly for so we have a package for Public Works because we don't have a fiber connection to Public Works. So that is the one thing we have left on Comcast. We have one cable box basically at Comcast to provide the internet, and that's also the VoIP system for Public Works.
Understood, but that monthly fee seems like it's very high. I was just wondering what it would be just to get a voice over internet like Enuma and just the internet service, and we get Public Works a streaming service or something if we need TV coverage for the weather or something like that, because I strongly believe we could probably cut that bill in half.
How much was the bill, Jeff?
$230.
A month?
That's 2 separate bills. So that's 2 months worth. We're
Oh,
paying about 120, 119 a month. for
Okay,
that
because I was confused why they had that 239 number. That's why I thought it was really high.
Yeah, no, there's just 2 months payment there. It's half of
Understood.
it.
Okay, so I'll retract my question then.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think we're gonna get that for $55 or $60.
Yeah, we should be paying that. That seems reasonable. So,
Okay. Any other questions on the treasurer's information?
So the other thing I would like to bring up is, and I provided this to the Board of Finance, and that is the fact that we still have 25 checking accounts. The treasurer and I have decided we can collapse that down to at most 7, possibly 6. The Board of Finance is on board with that. I have been trying to get a meeting scheduled with our government banking service from M&T, but trying to get a time when they're free and the treasurer's free at the same time has proven difficult. But it is our intention to get rid of the majority of those accounts. And so we have the money accounted for mostly in the general fund. So most of those are just legacy accounts. There will be some that still need to remain, but part of what we're trying to do is collapse those down to the minimum number of accounts we can, and then transfer as much money as we can into what's called a STIF account, which is a short-term investment fund that's run by the state of Connecticut. So we're hoping to have that done by July 1. It's sitting on the treasurer's desk waiting her signature before we can submit it, but hopefully that gets submitted this Wednesday and we get that rolling, because it offers us the ability to make a reasonable amount of interest compared to what we're making with M&T Bank, which is essentially 0. So Just, that's what that is on there for.
I'm in total support of minimizing the accounts and maximizing the amount of money in the STIF account.
Yep. The other thing, the Board of Finance has officially set the mill rate for the town. The mill rate for the 23-24 fiscal year will be 31.29. So no big shocks there. And then today, actually about an hour ago, I was looking at it just before this call, the state of Connecticut released the payment to town information broken down by grant. And I emailed that to the Board of Finance also. But the Cliff Notes is we're getting from the state exactly what we budgeted for. I know there's been, a bunch of proclamations by the government that the governor that they restored all this funding to ECS and, historic levels of funding to education and all that. But Andover's not getting that. Andover's getting exactly what we got last year for ECS funding, which is good. At least we're not getting a reduction. And it looks like it will stay level funding for the next 2 years in the budget. So that part is good. So the other thing on there is at the last Board of Finance meeting, they made a series of motions. The first was to authorize the town treasurer to establish a short-term investment fund called the STIF account. That was approved unanimously by the Board of Finance. I think it would probably make sense for the Board of Selectmen to also motion that if you guys are willing. That's one of the ones where I think both boards should be in agreement on, and there's certainly no reason not to do it.
I make a motion that we establish a STIF plan for the town of Andover, a STIF account, excuse me, for the town of Andover.
Seconded.
Seconded by Adrian. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
4-0. Let's go.
Okay, the next thing is, as I just mentioned, they authorized the town treasurer to establish a new line item in the current year's budget, which is 449-143-700, labeled senior transportation vehicle. And that will be, where the money resides for purchasing the vehicle, the RAV4 for senior transportation. And then the second thing they did was motion to transfer $45,000 from the resident state troopers line item to that line item to fund that acquisition. And both were unanimous by the Board of Finance. And the last motion, or two motions that they made, was the first to recommend to the Board of Selectmen to establish a capital fund for Andover Elementary School. They approved that unanimously. And then they also motioned to recommend the transfer of the account balance from the AES expansion fund to the newly established capital fund. And again, those two things, they can transfer the money, but I think you as a board have to create the fund if that's what you want to do. And I concurred with both of those decisions, by the way.
Okay, so we have already approved the vehicle. So there's nothing to do on that item. So on the approval, so just so I understand this is not to establish any new accounts or anything. That money will be kept in the general fund and will be sitting there. And it's just a fund that we're gonna fund. Let's sit there and say we identified that, like we did multiple years ago, Adrian, when you were on the Board of Finance and we had to do the roof. We sat there and had built that up and made that, because it was a $400,000 investment that the town made, or $450,000 investment that the town made to the building of the school to put on that roof. So this would just be if we sit there and the school comes to us and says they need the parking lot redone, and we would sit there and fund this on a regular basis, knowing that they're going to incur expenses to deal with the management of the building where the school, where the children are taught, right?
Yeah, I think that's sort of the way those things are supposed to work. I think if the town is gonna be helping to fund this, then it needs to be, those projects need to be run through CIP.
Well, but that's kind of one of the points that Board of Finance was making, is that by establishing this as a capital fund, two things can happen. One, the Board of Finance can transfer excess fund money at the end of the year into that fund, if they so choose. And secondly, because it would be a town capital fund like all the other capital funds, that would fall under the purview of CIP. Which kind of makes sense, because I mean, if you think about it, CIP by charter is required to have a member of the Board of Ed on it. So it seems to me that the intent right off the bat was probably that, which corresponds to state law, that capital, things still go through the town as they relate to AES. So that would be the rationale.
That's currently not happening, so.
But again, you're saying it's not happening. There's been no requests, if I'm understanding this the way that we've been dealing with. There's no requests for any capital improvements coming from the Board of Education through the CIP, right? I mean, nothing.
No, because they're just doing them.
They're just doing. Okay. So does anyone?
The air conditioning upgrade would be a perfect example of that. That never came through CIP.
Okay. All right. All right. Rather than continue to ask questions here, does someone want to sit there and make the motion to establish this fund? I will sit there and make a motion that we start. And Eric, just so I'm clear, because you're kind of in two different sections of this. You're in your town administrator report where you put all this, not in the treasurer's side. So can you give me the exact terminology for the fund the Board of Finance passed?
So they made a motion to recommend to the Board of Selectmen to establish a capital fund for the Andover Elementary School. That was their motion.
And to be clear, this would be under the purview of the Board of Finance and CIP.
Correct. It is not part of the AES budget directly. It is just a capital fund like all the rest of the capital funds.
Okay.
Similar to the capital fund for the fire department, which does not fall under, the Board of Fire Commissioners directly. It still has to go through CIP for any expenditure approval.
Well, that's why this is confusing to me, because all of this should go in the appropriate format to sit there and get to CIP to do anything that is in excess of a repair and maintenance for me.
Repeat what you just said, Eric.
Anything that happened, this capital fund, if we're establishing this capital fund, on my mind, we're establishing a fund to the way I would utilize it if it was just me and I wasn't part of the town government, I would be putting money in this account to sit there and defray costs for down the road. So the issue ends up being the building, the school building needs X, or let's stick with the parking lot because this is a big issue. The parking lot needs to be paved. It's going to cost $250,000 to get paved. And I'm not saying that it's hypothetical, but we could fund $50,000 a year for 5 years to have the available money there so that we're not coming to the community in 1 year asking for $250,000. We're funding it 50 smaller chunks going forward. And the school, the Board of Education, who is responsible for the building where the children are educated. They don't own it, but they're responsible for upkeep, would come to CIP and sit there and say, we would like to sit there and do X to the school building or to the school building, let's say, to the parking lot. And we would be able to, as a town, as a community, we would have these money available in this fund to sit there and offset the costs. Am I thinking of it incorrectly?
No, you're not. And that also gives the Board of Finance, like I said before, at the end of the year, if there are surplus monies, for instance, returned by the Board of Education, that could be used to fund that capital fund, if the Board of Finance so chose.
Okay.
So rather than rolling the dollars back into the general fund.
Yeah, I get it. Listen, again, this goes into a whole, how the logic is warped on all of this. It is a community asset. It is a town asset. Any of the buildings the town owns need to be upkept, and we need to sit there and do a better job maintaining all of these. So to me, I have zero problem establishing this fund because the Andover Elementary School is the largest single building in the town. The fact that we're not doing things correctly is problematic to me mentally, but
I don't think anyone on this board disagrees with you and wholeheartedly supports all of our buildings, including the school, being upkept. My only issue is that larger projects, whether it be air conditioning or solar or all these types of things, should be going through CIP.
okay. So I'll make a motion that we establish a capital fund for the Andover Elementary School.
I'll second.
Second,
Okay, second. Further discussion on this one? Okay, all those in favor?
aye.
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 Or nothing. Okay. So Eric, just so we're clear, like, just because my setup's a little disjointed today, are we in the administrator report, or are you sticking with the treasurer report? You were doing the Board of Finance because it was related to the treasurer, or what are you doing?
Yeah, I was just doing Board of Finance because it was related to the treasurer, keep it all in one spot.
Okay.
And that was item 7G or 7H, which was motions by the Board of Finance, which
Yeah.
is why I put that there. Or discussed it there.
Okay, so we've gone through the fund, the accounts, which you're going to minimize them as much as you can. You went through the Board of Finance, they established there. Oh, there it is. My bad. I'm sorry, Eric. It was 17. You know, you had it in different places, but it is page 17. All right, boards. Board and
Before we
commission-
get under that, the second half of that was their recommendation to transfer the account balance from what is on the books that the town has as the AES expansion fund to the newly established capital fund. That's a legacy fund that's been sitting there unspent for the last more than 10 years on our books. It dates back to when the last time there was an expansion of AES. It's just leftover money from that. And the Board of Finance would like to repurpose that money to establish the capital fund for AES.
How much is that?
And the total in it right now is $8,754.71 as of the last time the interest was calculated.
And just so, and just, okay, so I understand what the other one is. Does anyone have a problem with that? So, well, I'll just make a motion. I make the motion that we transfer the AES expansion fund monies in total $8,754.71 to the new capital fund for Andover Elementary School.
I'll second.
All right, further discussion on that item? All those in favor? Aye,
Aye.
Aye.
or nothing. Okay. So Eric, are you done in the treasurer's area?
Yes,
Okay. All right, item 8, board and commission presentations. I know we had a thank you note from the Andover Community Garden, thanking us for for the work being performed by Public Works and Eric, and the good deeds done by Adrian Mandeville for donating some money so that they can collect rainwater and all those good things. I think that was all that was under that section. Now, also, and I shouldn't say that, you have all of the requests for all of the appointments to the various boards. So
Correct.
we should go through each one of those. We have a request from Andover Inland and Wetlands to reappoint William Monroe, Jed Larson, Duncan Fife, Edmund Smith, Jane Massey, and George Elliott requested not to be reappointed. So 5 out of the 6 members. All right. My recommendation is that we just go through all of them and I'll read them and then we vote on them as a block. Does anyone have a problem with that?
Nope.
No.
Is anyone on the call going to sit there and have a problem with any of the members being reappointed? If they want to do one separately, let me know. No, okay. The Andover Fire Commission, Sean Colwell was reappointed to serve as the Fire Commission representative on the CIP committee.
Yeah, that's just a notice. You don't have to vote on that. That's their.
We'll let him.
right.
Okay, the Conservation Commission is requesting, this is to Carol Lee from Mike Palazzi. This is requesting that Evan Agrera, Hank Bruner, Mary Ann Guile, Mike Palazzi, and Catherine Shea be appointed as regular members, and 2 alternates, Carrie Crompton and Gary Guile, appointed to the Conservation Commission. The Economic Development Commission is requesting that Elaine Buchart, Kathy Palazzi, and Catherine Baldy Lewis be appointed to another term, and Patrick Doherty is resigning. That's it. Those are the requests that we have. Do we have anything I missed, Eric?
No, we don't. Technically, Patrick isn't resigning. He's just not requesting to be reappointed.
Gotcha. I'm
Not to split hairs.
my bad. That's what they wrote. That's what I read. You can put anything in front of me. I'll just read it, right? Okay. So I make a motion that we reappoint all the volunteers that have requested to be appointed for the various commissions,
I will second.
right? Further discussion, anything? All those in favor? Aye.
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 Did I miss Adrian or?
I said aye.
Okay, 4-0. Okay,
And we are reaching out to all the other ones that are, all the other appointed commissions that we have to reelect. I have Carol kind of in charge of that because they all have different terms. So we're getting through them as fast as we can. We have advertised in the River East vacancies in a number of boards and commissions because we are short. So if you know anybody who wants to serve on town commissions, please have them get in touch with Carol or myself, and we'll be happy to put them to work on behalf of the town.
item 10, resignations. Do we have anything, Eric?
We do not.
Item 11 is the town administrator's report.
Okay, I'm gonna go through my report. Number 1, the building looks great. Willie Bell and his wife Susie are doing a great job cleaning the building. The exterior painting for the town hall is almost fully complete at this point, and everything looks really good. He is reglazing slowly as time is available all the large windows at the library. That was a priority for the library. Basically, the last time the windows were reglazed, they didn't actually paint them. So the glazing got really moldy. So we're removing all the glaze and reglazing the windows and repainting them as we go along. And it looks to me like it's coming out very well. So that's town hall and custodial operations. We've got a ton of active RFPs right now. The RFP for both the Andover Fire Department and the Andover Town Hall both closed June 8th. So we need a review committee for both of those bids. Now, the unfortunate part is we only got 2 bids for the fire department. We only got a single bid for the town hall, which is kind of annoying because I think a total of 9 contractors went through the walkthrough. So not overly happy with that, but we still need to go through the process and come up with a review committee to look at the bids. I think in both cases, the bids are going to need some review in terms of scope of what we're trying to accomplish.
What was the bid for the town hall?
The bid for the town hall was kind of 3 things. One is ductless split AC for the main area of the town hall, replacing the oil burner on our existing boiler with a gas burner, and then replacing the AC unit and furnace in the community room from oil to propane and making it a dual fuel unit with the heat pump. So that was that.
And what was the total bid? What it came in at?
So the only bid for the town hall came in at about $30,000. But that did not include the burner replacement for the town hall. So it was essentially an incomplete bid.
Okay. It actually might make sense to split those up, because I know a lot of contractors that don't have a gas license, but do other types of HVAC or do straight HVAC and they just don't do gas. So it might make more sense to split those up and put that back out separately. And, just food for thought.
Right, and I don't, like I said, I don't necessarily disagree with that. But I don't feel like I necessarily should be making that decision on my own. So I suggest that, and technically per our purchasing policy, it's the Board of Selectmen's responsibility to select a review committee for the bids.
Okay.
I would like to be on it, but I don't necessarily want, it shouldn't be a committee of one.
Yeah, I'll definitely throw my hat on there for that. So.
So just so I understand, Adrian, aren't you really recommending that we split the bid up and rebid?
Yeah, but as to Eric's point, I think the scope of work needs to be reviewed when you split it up. So there may be, and that could be why we didn't get bids. It may have been either out of their purview, they didn't want to bother doing an incomplete bid, and we may want to, I mean, personally, when we ran into this with the library, we reached out, or I personally reached out to the contractors and said, why didn't you bid? You came, you walked, you didn't bid. And we got some clear answers as to what we had done wrong. And so we looked at it again, So those are things that can help us get better at bidding, get more efficient at it. And so it might be worth our time to reach out and say, hey, you came, you walked, we didn't hear back from you. What could we have done better? What was your concern with bidding? Whatever. Sort of like a exit interview on an employee, and candidly at that point you ask, if we change the scope of work and we rebid it, would you be interested in looking at it again? And you might find out that you get some bidders that way. So I would gladly work with Eric on that, and I'm not sure if anyone wants to recommend other folks to help us out. I don't know, Jeff, what's your situation? Is that a possibility?
I'm pretty swamped at the moment, but if you need somebody else, we'll try to.
Welcome to the drowning pool. Welcome to the drowning pool.
Yeah, I know, it's been crazy.
I'm totally with you.
Okay, so
If you need
I
a
make a
third,
motion.
I'll put my hat in.
I'll sit there and say, and and Jeff, you can participate as much as you can. I make a motion that we appoint Adrian Mandeville, Jeff Murray, and Eric Anderson to the review committee for the HVAC replacement programs at the Andover Fire Department and the Andover Town Hall.
Maybe we can reach out to let's ask, I would say, I would like to modify that and simply say, we'd like the fire department to maybe appoint someone to that too.
Sure.
I'd like a rep from that. It includes them, so maybe we can get.
Okay, so I'll revise. I recommend, I'll make a motion that we appoint Adrian Mandeville, Jeff Murray, Eric Anderson, and require that the Andover Fire Commission appoint a member to the review committee for the HVAC replacement at the Andover Fire Department and the Andover Town Hall.
A member of the commission or the fire department, either, one or the other, just a representative for the fire department.
Represent, that they appoint. I'm assuming the Fire Commission would be the one appointing it.
They may have somebody better qualified that's a volunteer. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know.
Well, I mean, they can sit there and appoint a contractor for all I care, but it's a representative from the fire department.
Yes, exactly. Thank you.
Okay, Paul, are you gonna
Second.
second that? Because you're the only one not on it.
Yep.
Okay,
No.
Adrian already had seconded it. He got into it first.
All right.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
So Adrian and Jeff just didn't say anything. So Paula, you and I appointed that.
I just said I. Apparently I'm saying it
Dude,
like,
I'm in a bad location. I can't hear everything.
I'm so sorry.
My bad. You're so soft. You're speaking softly. That's what I should say. All right, let's go, Eric.
Okay, and so just for the record, I did apply for LoCIP funds, as we talked about like 6 months ago, for the town hall HVAC replacement. My initial application was rejected because they're requiring me to apply to the State Historical Preservation Office, because Andover Town Hall is now over 50 years old, and therefore it requires historic review. So I filed the paperwork with the State Historical Preservation Office for approval as soon as I get that. And I can't imagine they're gonna make us go through any hoops, because what we're talking about doing is tearing out what wasn't original to the building, which is a bunch of wall-mounted AC units, and putting standalone units in. The next one up, there's an active RFP for the purchase of a hybrid RAV4 for senior transportation, which corresponds to what you asked us to do and what the Board of Finance has authorized the money for. So we put out an RFP. What we did not get back from any of the vendors was a sealed bid. So what you're going to have to do as a group is waive the fact that the bids were not actually sealed. They emailed us all the bids, but they didn't seal it. So my suggestion is that you agree that that is okay. And then you appoint yourselves to the evaluation committee headed by Jeff Murray, and you select the vendor. And with that, I would happily turn that discussion over to Jeff Murray.
Yeah, I reached out to 3 Toyota dealerships in the area that the RFP covered, and we received bids from all 3 dealerships. They were, I went back and I asked if they would submit a sealed bid, and they were reluctant to do that. They said it's not their usual operations to do something like that. So they preferred to email them. So I received those emails and I forwarded those to Eric for consideration, and we decided we'd discuss it tonight. So I would like to waive the sealed bid requirement and evaluate the bids and select the lowest bidder and get a deposit as soon as possible. I've talked to 2 of the dealers, the two lowest bidders, and both said if we ease up on the color requirement, we can we'll most likely get a vehicle within a month or 2. So, but it all hinges on a deposit. They won't go in search right now until we put a deposit on one. So once we get a deposit on one, they will go out and search and find us the vehicle.
Okay, so make a motion that we appoint ourselves to the bid evaluation committee for the RAV4 for senior transportation.
Headed by
And-
Jeff.
And Jeff, just before I finish that, do you want me to sit there and in the motion waive the sealed bid requirement?
Yep.
Okay, so I make a motion that we appoint the Board of Selectmen to the bid evaluation committee for the RAV4 for senior transportation and waive the sealed bid requirement.
I'll second.
Paul, a second. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, 4-0. Okay,
Now, when can we make that selection?
do you want to call a meeting right now?
Sure.
I make a motion that we select the low bidder and waive the color requirement on the RAV4.
Seconded.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
4-0. All right, let's go.
We solicited bids from Colchester Toyota, Hartford Toyota, and Lynch Toyota. Lynch Toyota came in at invoice pricing, which was the cheapest by $2,000 or $3,000. Eric, you have the bids in front of you, correct?
Yeah, I do. I'm
Lower
just
by
scrolling.
15.
They're actually in the packet.
In the
Yep.
back,
Yep.
it's lower by $1,500 than Toyota. The bids were as follows: Toyota, or Hartford Toyota, 34,855. Toyota of Colchester, 33,939, and Lynch Toyota of Manchester, 32,459.
So I would like to make a motion that we put a deposit on a RAV4 from Lynch Toyota because they're the lowest bidder.
They're all apples to apples.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I would second that then.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, Eric, you still got more to go?
Yep, hang on a second. I gotta scroll back to the right spot.
Union negotiations.
Okay, so
Oh, fire
union
truck.
negotiations are,
Wait,
Oh,
wait, fire truck.
yeah, so fire truck. I did post the RFP for the fire truck that closes in July. And I would suggest that the Board of Selectmen designate. So there's something in your packet from Wally Barton, and he was recommending that they use the committee that developed the specifications for the fire truck. With the addition of one Board of Selectmen member, and I think probably appropriately one member of the Board of Finance on that review panel also. That would be my recommendation for it.
When is that going to start?
That is, I want to say it closes July 1st or 2nd week of July.
Did we lose Jeff?
Okay, sorry about that. I'm sorry. What did I miss, Eric? Did I miss something?
We nominated you to the fire truck committee. It starts the end of July.
Absolutely. I'd love to do it. Did you vote it? Oh, I'm sorry. I have to call it. Further discussion. Are you sure?
I need a second. Paula?
I'll second.
Right. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Or nothing.
So the motion then is the fire truck selection committee plus one BOS member, which is Jeff McGuire, and one Board of Finance member. Is that correct? Is that what you motioned?
Well, yes, but Jeff's not the Board of Finance member. He's the Board of Selectmen member.
Right. Yeah, I said BOS member, which was Jeff.
I thought you said BOF, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
You asked my F for something. I'm not really sure. Paul, is that the signal? That's early.
No, I have, sorry, I have a bug in my eye.
Okay.
Okay, so union negotiations with AFSCME are finally on for June 14th, which is 2 days. So hopefully we will come to a resolution there relatively quickly. And there later in the packet will be the contract for Cool. That contract, I think everybody's fairly happy with at this point. I'm not absolutely sure, but we should probably discuss that and then authorize the signing of that.
What days are the union contracts now doing?
It's June 14th.
Okay. Do you have a time yet?
Yep. Let me pull it up.
Sorry, if you sent that, I haven't seen it.
Well, that was put on the docket quite a while ago. It's at 10 a.m.
I know we discussed a bunch of days.
Yeah. So I should have sent you a reminder already for that. My apologies.
No, it's okay.
Contract with Cool, we talked about that. We did not get the rec trails grant. I am kind of in the background working on another possibility to fund that. But it doesn't sound like that's going to go through at least this legislative session. I did have the opportunity to ride the length of the rail trail with the DEP trail coordinator, Kim Bradley. So I was fortunate to be able to have a long-ranging discussion with her about what Andover needs in terms of trail maintenance and additional improvements. So I'm trying in the background to lobby DEP directly as much as I can. And we did discuss being able to free up some funds for tree removal on the trail. We have one section of the trail which has an enormous amount of dead ash that's falling fairly continuously on the trail. So they're talking about potentially giving the town a direct allotment of funds instead of having DEP do the work, in which case we would simply hire Distinctive Tree Care to do it, and then, sub the whole thing out. So that's where we're contemplating that. As far as the town clerk's office, that office is running fairly smoothly at the moment. They're in the midst of issuing transfer station tickets. That's the big thing up in that office right now. So the assessor's office, there's nothing really major to report that is going to affect us directly right now. The regulations changing about the valuation of motor vehicles are changing to a MSRP plus depreciation model. And that's going to affect the grand list, but not this year. And the true impact is kind of unclear at this point. As far as social services has been dealing with the aftermath of a couple of evictions. That's been, a little bit of a pain.
Can I back you up a second? Do we have any idea, has anyone done a look-see to see what kind of impact the grand list it would be if enacted?
As far as I know, no. So I don't know at this point. Obviously we're going to have to do it before the next budget cycle, because it's going to have to be built into the next budget cycle. So we're going to have to be able to, but we should have the information in October of next year when the new essentially grand list comes out when we convert to the new methodology. So we should know that prior to the budget season, but we don't know it now.
I just did, normally when these legislative things go through, they have some sort of assessment document with them. I was just curious, that's all.
Yeah, no, I don't have that. I don't really have a whole lot of details on that. The omnibus bill was like another, 1,000 pages or something like that. So what exactly is in it and what other little nuggets of laws that got passed that we have no idea about yet. We're gonna figure that out in the next few months. The audit is not complete. We did have a holdup with our actuary from Hooker and Holcomb. Again, we responded to them today, so I'm hoping we have that back. We've expressed to them how freaking urgent it is that they give us the final report so that we can complete the audit by July 1. That is the last thing holding up the audit. So I think if we can actually get that, we will get the audit out by July 1. But it's getting a lot closer than I would certainly like. Building department and land use is going pretty well. Yes, we will review the fee schedule. That is not something I have really gotten to yet. While I've discussed it a bunch of times with the new building official, we haven't really made any headway on it yet. But that is still in the works. We do have a bunch of zoning enforcement stuff going on. But right now, the zoning agent's also busy dealing with applications, one of which being the towns. So, we're not making as much progress on that as I would like. Dennis is helping out from the legal aspects of the enforcement actions. We did get a state local bridge application in for Lake Road at Basola. Based on the costs of doing these, we decided not to put the application in for the culvert on Hutchinson Road and just concentrate on Lake Road at Basola because that affects so many more people. We have asked the DOT to meet with us and discuss the possibility of putting a access way in on the other side of Hutchinson Road on the far end of the culvert. Because it seems to me the simplest way to do this is a curb cut on Route 6 on the other side of the culvert. So we can just directly access it and we don't have to do a stream crossing. That to me seems like it's a hell of a lot cheaper than putting in a culvert, given the prices of culverts these days. Let's see. So Bunker Hill Bridge. They supposedly the 70% design phase should be released shortly by the contractor. We don't yet have a firm date for final design completion. Long Hill Bridge, the test borings are complete. The 30% design phase is going well. That one's actually progressing through the process a lot faster than Bunker Hill. And don't ask me why, because it's all the same people. We talked about small bridges. You all know that the special permit application is pending, is before the zoning commission for the community/senior center. And got with that. And those are the major things I wanted to discuss. You all got my notes regarding the transfer station and the issue we're having with rats. We did last Friday have a cleaning session at the transfer station. We pulled all the compactors out, cleaned the hell out of it, pressure washed it. And tomorrow the pest control applicator will be in, basically treating everything and starting a very aggressive trapping routine for the transfer station, hopefully to get that under control.
And they recommended backfilling the holes with asphalt.
So what the contractor said basically is that the first thing you gotta do is you gotta get as much of the potential food source gone as you can. And then as soon as you do that, you bait the hell out of everything there. And you shove bait in all the open holes everywhere you can, and you make sure there's plenty of the poison bait around. And at that point, you can seal the holes temporarily. We know we're gonna have to cut them back open and recompact because we're getting sinkholes in. But there's no sense doing that, and you don't want to open it up until you've killed off the majority of the rats, because if you scatter them now, the colony will reform somewhere else, and you'll start having problems in other locations or the blue building or elsewhere. So that's basically the plan they're proposing for dealing with it. And
I don't disagree with sealing the holes. I'm just surprised we picked the most expensive option of asphalt instead of like, you know, 1 1/4 stone or, 3/4 stone or something like that, or gravel. Like why pick $100-something a ton, versus $40 a ton,
Well, I mean, for right now, I mean, we're not talking about fixing it or completely fixing the problem. All we're talking about doing is creating a surface smooth enough for people to walk on. So what Jay is talking about doing is just throwing hot patch, or not throwing cold patch in the top and tamping it down temporarily until we can cut it back open in a month or two, hopefully after we've gotten rid of the little buggers.
And the holes are small enough, the hot patch isn't gonna drop into it?
He thinks he can deal with it with cold patch.
Okay.
So,
I was just surprised, that's all. I didn't realize we were trying to make a walking area. I thought you talked about sealing them, and I was like, just trying to understand that. Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
for the
it's more to get the barrels out of there so people can walk around the compactor safely right now until we can do a more permanent fix.
So it's on the edge there by the compactor? I guess I didn't notice when I went.
Yeah, Adrian, it's on the retaining walls on the edge. It looks like it could be a combination of both. It could be just, looks like there's some erosion and some of the material went down between the retaining blocks.
Okay.
And it just, we had some sinkholes, so
Okay.
it's not anything, it's not terrible, but I think Eric's right. I think we could probably put some cold patch now just so nobody falls in or trips on anything.
I hadn't seen the area, so, okay.
Yeah, it's like probably, what do you think, Eric? A half a dozen holes? So-
Yeah, I mean, they're not huge at this point. I mean, basically all we're trying to do is deal with it temporarily to make a good walking surface until we can deal with it more formally.
Okay.
But the contractor was very clear. He does not want us opening up any asphalt until they've killed off the majority of the rats. Because he said, as soon as you displace them, it's a lot harder to deal with than dealing with them in place. So boundary line adjustment details, I did discuss that the other day with the town engineer. I still don't have any kind of formal report from them. I told him I really wanted it back in a week or so. He's prodding his surveyor to finally bear into that and give us back a report on that. The second boundary line adjustment, which would be between the town of Andover and the Hawes family. If you remember, that's one of the houses that is directly behind the school. I had sent them a copy of the plans, and I followed up with Kim Hawes, and she indicated that she and her husband were fine with the agreement. So at some point when we go to file the boundary survey, we should probably have Dennis work up the boundary line adjustment document and file those both at the same time that we filed the boundary survey. So those are the two.
If I may, Eric, I believe that we're going to have to ask for an 824 review on those as well. If it's a relocation of the boundary line, because it's going to be a slight relocation of town property and vis-a-vis what is now private property.
I believe you
But
did
it would
tell me
depend,
that.
it all depends on what, It all depends on, the substance of the change.
Correct.
But I think it would require an 824 review and also, unfortunately, a town meeting based on our charter. I have researched it, and too bad we have to go to those extremes, but we have to follow the rules.
Is that the correct though? Because I thought we've done some adjustments, like even when, did the Clark property easement wasn't that an adjustment as well? Would that have required a,
Probably.
It
did?
did in the past.
Okay, I didn't recall. I wasn't on the board at that time.
Yeah, anytime you do any kind of an adjustment to town property, gaining or subtracting or whatever, even if it's a small one, unfortunately, you need an 824 review. The statute is pretty all comprehensive. I just looked at it again today to make sure, and I don't see a way around it unless it's, very extremely minimal, even if it's minimal. And also a town meeting. So what you want to do when you have the town meeting is, I guess, if there's any other pending matters, you want to throw them on the agenda as well, so you don't waste time and money and whatever.
Okay.
Sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but that's not, that's the way I see it.
Okay. That's it, Eric?
The only other thing that I wanted to cover that wasn't in my report is we did finally get a note back from the DOT saying that the Board of Selectmen had requested that the speed limit on Route 6 be decreased to 40 miles an hour in the vicinity of Dollar General, basically going from the existing 40-mile-an-hour zone to past where 87 comes in. The state of Connecticut has done a traffic study, and while they didn't agree to drop it to 40 miles an hour, they did say they would drop it to 45. They're waiting on a confirmation from Jeff before they proceed. So my suggestion is that you concur with their recommendation so they go forward and it doesn't go any longer.
I would make a motion to concur with the DOT's recommendation and try to enact the 45-mile-an-hour speed limit.
I'll second.
Further discussion. Eric. What was the document that I signed Wednesday? Wasn't it this?
No, that was not this. That was for the tax collector. That's what formalized the mill rate for the town.
All right. My bad memory. Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
There we go, 4-0. Let's go. Old business, Eric.
Okay, I would like we have an executive session regarding union negotiations. I would like to deal with the tax collector status in executive session.
All right.
I'll make a motion that we add that to the executive session conversation.
Right. We want to invite in the town attorney.
Sure.
Okay.
I'd also
Paul, you
make
got a second?
I'll
And
second.
Eric.
I was gonna say, I want to ask a second thing, and also I can make a motion that we add in discussion of the community center in executive session.
Seconded.
All right. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Okay. 12C, recognizing Andover residents. Paula.
I don't think we need to talk anything about this again. We voted and said we were moving it forward, so There's a form on the town website. I tried putting it in the River East a couple of weeks ago, but I guess the email address that the River East had was the wrong person, so I contacted them again. So I'm going to talk to the River East this week about putting some more information in there. So I think we can probably take this off the agenda at this point. So
All right. Thank you for all you do on that, Paula.
you're very welcome. Thank you for the idea.
12E Andover, 12D of the Cool Program contract. Where are we with that? Is it done?
So that's a good question. So Dennis sent back a series of revisions again. That is the contract that is in your packet. And Paul, I believe you sent that to the Cool Pro.
Yep, I sent that to them last week and I copied everybody on that. So
Okay, so do we know whether there are any issues that they have with it at this point, or can we prepare a clean copy for Mr. McGuire to sign on our end?
I have not heard back from anybody on their end. I didn't know if they contacted you, but I have not heard anything.
I have
So
not.
unless you want to, I can make a phone call tomorrow. Okay.
I just want to say that the latest changes to the about the 20th draft, I think, have been primarily cosmetic. I don't think there's anything in there that is going to cause them to change. I mean, they sent a version back to us, which I thought was pretty good, and I did make some clarifying changes in it, as you can see if you look at the version that is included in the packet. And there may be some objection that they might have to this, but I cannot imagine what it would be. Because it's pretty close to what. Go ahead.
Sorry. No, finish your thought. Sorry.
No, I think it's really close. What I sent them back was not far from what they sent back to us. And I just wanted to make some clarifying statements and improve the language. And it looked to me like we were just about there. Hopefully they will approve this. I don't see a problem with, as far as I'm concerned, as town attorney who has worked on this for quite a while, I wouldn't see a problem with the Board of Selectmen approving this version, this particular draft tonight, and I would recommend that. But, you may want to hear back from them first, but, it would be nice to make an end to this.
If we approve it now and they also agree, then they can just move forward and this is done. So that would probably make the most sense. So I would make a motion that we approve this version of the Cool contract that's in our packet.
I'll second.
Further discussion?
Yeah, just as a comment, I think they have a board meeting this week, so I think I sent this Friday. So I'm just thinking this is a matter of, a couple of days. They're probably looking it over and just need another couple of days or so. I'm just assuming, but I will find out. So
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, 4-0. Scout.
Thank you.
thank you.
12E, Eric Andover, personnel policy discussion.
I would like to punt on that again at this time.
And 12F, we've already discussed.
Correct.
So 13, new business.
So in your packet is a thank you letter to Matt Cordner of Andover Landscaping for donating materials for the community garden. I put that in your packet. Unless you want some changes, I suggest you approve and sign it as is, or have Carol put your signatures, affix your signatures to it as you so desire.
I make a motion that we send out the letter to Matt Cordner at Andover Landscaping, thanking him for his generous donation.
I will second.
All those in favor? Aye.
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 And at the same time, I would also like to acknowledge the fact that Scott Person and his wife Lauren also donated a considerable amount of manure and other materials that they had delivered for the community gardens to get the beds established. So I don't think he necessarily wants a letter of appreciation from the board, but I just want to acknowledge that they also made a significant donation to the town, and I certainly appreciate it.
Please don't forget Selectman Mandeville for his donation of $1,000 to the community garden.
That is correct also. Thank you, Adrian.
You will
Hey.
not get a letter, and I will not sign it, but I will thank you.
I wasn't looking for one. Speaking of which, I do need, I reached out to Jeff and he said at some point he was gonna get me a list of what they needed for materials, so. Just if that comes up to anyone, please, remind him to just get to me and I'll get it taken care of.
Next. Eric, you got anything else on the new business front?
Yes, whole bunch of stuff. The first thing I wanted to talk about, so there seems to be a large variety of opinions regarding blight in town. So when we initially proposed the blight ordinance, I was assuming we were going to use this to deal with 4 to 5 of the worst offenders in town. But there's a lot of people that want to do a lot more with it. And I think that's a discussion that has to be, that really has to come from the top, and you as a board have to determine how proactive you want to be with one of these things, or you have to leave it to the discretion of the zoning enforcement officer, one or the other. But we need a little bit of guidance because there's a pretty wide variety of opinions as to what we should really be targeting this as. My personal opinion is that we should be going after, the worst 4 or 5 offenders and dealing with the ones that are really either health hazards or, really significant accumulations of stuff in obvious spots. But I think that's something that's a board decision more so than an Eric decision.
Can we put
So
this on?
what are you proposing exactly?
Well, he wrote it, but can we push this one off because this is really Scott Person takes a personal he takes a lead position in this. So I would like him on the meeting to discuss his thoughts and desires related to this because he is really out looking at this, and I know he and Jeff Murray are probably the most.
Right, so I think given that actually, he would love us to actually try to make some progress on this rather than kicking it down the road. So I guess I would reiterate my question. Eric, what are you proposing?
So I'm proposing that I need a lot more guidance because, individually, people all want different things done for this. And I think you need to come up with some kind of more comprehensive idea about how many. I mean, if you take the literal definition of our blight policy, I think you could apply it to roughly 10% of the houses in the town of Andover. That's my guess from driving it around. And the question is, what do you really want to accomplish with this? Because I mean, I've got people that want me to go after individual mattresses, on the sides of people's garages, and the question is, where is the line? Where do we as a town draw the line before we start considering enforcing something?
I mean, Eric, that was in one mattress. I mean, that one individual we spoke about has probably 8 mattresses out in their driveway, stacked up.
Maybe they're trying to build a trampoline, Jeff.
Maybe. But they're getting rained on. It's It's an eyesore and it's a health hazard.
Are they stacked nicely?
No, they're just laid up against vehicles and all kinds of other structures.
So
And
you're
other
saying
garbage.
they're protecting structures with mattresses?
No, and then this individual has gotten a letter from the zoning agent, the zoning enforcement officer in the past. So this is not the first time
About the mattresses?
about the blight, the issue of the garbage and other issues.
Okay.
But what I don't want to do is focus this on one, because I think my concern is that if you set that as your threshold, you know, an awful lot of residents fall afoul of the blight. You know, and it's a question of resources, you know, and
Okay,
it's
but-
a question of how intrusive you want to be.
But Jeff said there's 8 mattresses, so if there's 8 mattresses, that's not one. And is this,
But
is this,
listen, this is not.
is all of this visible from the road? Is it a mess?
Yes.
I don't,
Yes,
I'm asking Eric.
well,
I mean, if you want me personally, I ride my bike past it all the time and I never see it, but obviously other people do.
You do ride fast, you do ride pretty fast, so it's possible it just goes
No,
right
I'm
by.
pretty old and fat, so I don't ride very fast anymore.
If
That's
you're
not
fat, then I'm in big trouble.
Oh.
Just so we're clear. So.
Can
Eric,
I say
you want
something about
guidance-
this?
You want guidance in what, I'm sorry, Dennis. Yeah, go ahead, Dennis.
I think I can be helpful here. The one thing about this kind of action is it has to be done with precision. And the violator has rights to hearings and stuff like that. Liens have to be filed. It is a very time-consuming thing to do. And, you know, I don't have an awful lot of time to deal with this kind of stuff in a town like yours, because you all are doing so much good work in the town at generating an awful lot of legal issues that I'm pretty darn busy.
Are you,
And so is the zoning agent. The zoning agent is limited to so many hours a week, and it's not a lot. He's pretty busy with zoning right now, and I have to work with him. I'm ending up being pretty much a staff person with regards to doing some of these cases. And, you know, again, they require a lot of time. And,
But
and
Dennis,
we were doing pretty well in it for a while, but I'm starting to fall behind.
Dennis,
and,
are we allowed, Dennis, can I interrupt for a second? Are we allowed by law to bill for the time for an agent or yourself to work on these cases? Can we recoup those
Not as
costs?
far as I know. I think all you can do is find the perpetrator, the violator, and you know, the fine is $25 a day. And we've got two cases in which I don't want to get into too much detail. We've got cases in which there are fines accumulating, and liens are being placed, and those liens
Okay,
will
so-
be, you know, open-ended. They will
But it's-
continue
but if
to
it's-
grow
if
as
it's-
long as.
But if it's $25 a day, and
Yeah.
so we should be able to, you should accumulate over the course of a week enough money to pay for an attorney. If it goes more than a week, you're accumulating enough money, I would think, to pay for an attorney to place.
But I'm
place a
working on a retainer where I only get paid so much, and I'm not complaining, but
No, my question is, can we sub this out to another attorney? For, if that's the case, and can we look at, you know, accumulating more hours
well,
from both?
that's something to consider if you have that many cases. I didn't realize there were. I know there are a few. I didn't know there were 10% or 8% or whatever. That's a lot.
It's not. Eric is
Good.
making that number up. The issue is really just, let's decide, like, are we sitting there and we're
Yeah,
gonna give?
I mean, you have things at your house strewn about, so be careful, you're on the list.
Correct, I'm on the list. I know it. My question and what Eric is after, and the reason why, listen, Scott sent a request for a certain amount of information. Eric is trying to sit there and get clarification if that's what we're requiring to have him do related to these blight issues.
Yeah.
You know, to me, allow Eric to have some discretion, but Eric, if Jeff Murray and Scott Person bring to you something that they believe is not positive for the community, I mean, you need to look at it. I mean, what Scott is asking for is a detailed report by property all the time. I realize that might be excessive. That's what Eric is dealing with. Eric is going, Scott wants more detailed reports as to what we're doing as a community related to these blight homes and blight properties. He wants
I mean, but-
detailed reports.
But
And I don't-
candidly,
nothing wrong.
Eric doesn't have the time for that right now. He has so many irons in the fire. Although that is a wonderful idea
Listen,
that, and when he gets caught up, it's winter time and then he's starting budget season. So I don't know that it's within his ability to do that. And maybe that's something that, we need to talk about, having more time in the building department to address this.
that's the issue, Adrian. If Eric just wants direction, are we going to sit there and make him do this? If we are, just tell him and he'll figure out how to do it. If not, just give him the guidance as to what we're expecting. So from my
As
standpoint,
much as
I would rather we sit there and identify, and whether you identify the 5 worst, and you sit
Right.
there and try to knock them off. And we're not a big town. We don't have a tremendous amount of resources, but that's all Eric's asking for. What is it? What's our guidance? And he wants it
Well,
from more than just one board of selectmen, or he wants it from both boards. That is the reason why I wanted Scott to be here, because he is the most vested in this issue.
So maybe we do something where we have the, 5 most wanted every year that we want to clean up.
It's still not giving Eric the guidance he's asking for.
Well, I think right now,
Well,
Eric's got way too much on his plate to be digging in on this.
I
I
don't
think that,
disagree with, Adrian, I am with you, but you know what? When I understood that Public Works, I'm just gonna sit there and say this in public, Public Works is working on the community gardens. I think that's phenomenal. But you said many times, Public Works doesn't have time to sit there and go down and work on our fields. And you know who's going down and working on those fields? That's Scott.
so you,
So
maybe
I'm
we.
sorry, I'm sorry, when I see Public Works working on the community gardens, and you tell Scott that they can't go down and help out on the fields to do maintenance, I've got a problem, because Scott is down there investing his entire time to sit there and do that for the community. So we can't talk out of both sides of our mouth on issues like this.
Listen, I would, if I had to choose between the two, I think the community garden is a volunteer organization that has the people that can probably do what they need to do. I
What
think
does
there was
that
some,
mean?
I think,
It's a
there
town
was-
asset. We have a town asset in the field.
right. I'm saying I would rather see them down at the field, but at the same time, there was some overlap. As much as I'm not a fan of Public Works doing anything but roads, because of what was going on with the community center, and also the fact that there were some tree issues down there, there was a multitude of things that Public Works ended up down there for, but,
I'm not
I'm not-
adverse to that. You're missing my point. I'm not adverse to them doing that type of work. I'm just sitting there going, when we sit there and say they can't go down and do the field, and Scott's down there all the time dealing with that irrigation system, I've got a problem. So anyway, Eric is looking for guidance and direction. And Eric, let's just move on with this, because we're not going to make a decision tonight. But I do understand what you're after. I'll sit there and poll everybody else. And I have to get with Scott, because I'm just saying, Scott's the most vested in this. Jeff Murray and Scott, as far as I'm concerned, are the most vested in this blight issue. They have the keen eye for that type of issue. And I'm probably more like Eric. I drive by these houses all the time and I don't see it. So,
I mean, look, I don't care if you're working on a car in the front of your yard, or you got some, activities, good construction activities or whatever. But when you're taking things that can easily be taken to the transfer station at no charge and dumping them in your front yard, that's a problem. And we need to address it as a town. Because if you're the neighbor of that individual, would you want to live next to that? No. And we have a duty as a board of selectmen to make sure that blight ordinance is being followed to a certain degree. Which means there's no charge for these mattresses and these things that are out in these yards. We don't charge for bulky. I mean, you can go get your dump pass and you can take everything down there. It's not an issue. So,
I think I think the problem is, Jeff, that there are nuances to what happens in somebody's yard. You know, you could be furious because you see 8 mattresses out there, and it could be that that person is doing an art project and they need 100 springs out of those mattresses to coil them up to make some sort of Burning Man thing. I mean, so your trash may be somebody else's art. And I think that's where I've seen, having lived in other towns and Wilmantic, where Mr. O'Brien is based, that and Canterbury, which is a small rural town very similar to ours, that, you know, there's nuances to these things, and there is pushback because people move to rural areas so they won't be bothered by, you know, by other people's idiosyncrasies. And unfortunately, some people are. So
And I understand that, but this individual did the same thing last time. They were cited, they cleaned it up, and now we're back where we were before.
but is
So-
this about one person, or is this about?
No, this is about a multiple. I'm just naming one property because Eric mentioned. that.
Okay, we're off track. We're off track again.
That's the only reason.
The issue with Scott and what Scott was requesting was reporting from Eric about the various properties. And if we put a property like this one that you're discussing on this list, Scott was asking Eric for information at a regular basis on all of this. We all agree Eric is busy. We all agree Derek does a lot for the town and the community. Eric's only asking us for guidance. Are we going to ask him for detailed reporting on various properties? And if so,
Okay, so let's
fine.
back up. So Eric, do we have a system where we open a file on these properties?
Yeah, we do.
Okay, and the building department maintains a file and every point of contact is recorded in the file?
Well, the zoning agent, who's the blight enforcement officer, maintains the file. So right now, we have probably 4 or 5 properties that we're dealing with in one stage or another for one violation or other. Everything
And,
from blight to building code stuff.
But any contact that he has with the property owners is recorded, right?
Yes, and he's supposed to be sending a copy of it to Dennis O'Brien, so we have a record through the town's attorney also.
Are these public access
I have
files?
I have extensive files on 2 cases.
Are they public access
Yeah.
files? Are they allowed to be shared with the Board of Selectmen?
With the Board of Selectmen, yes, but only in executive session.
Okay, so
Sure.
do we have enough going on that we should, at our monthly meetings, have like an executive session where we just get an update about what's going on with these properties? Is there that much going on that's warranted?
There is a lot going on. I'm spending a lot of time on it. I haven't in the past week or so, but I've been involved in other matters, and I could spend a lot more time on it than I do. You know, even on just these 2 cases, some of these cases are very, very difficult. They're deep. You know, there's a lot of things wrong.
All
One
right,
in
Dennis,
particular.
how do other towns handle this?
Well, other towns, Wyndham handles it by has been working with the blight statute and ordinance for a long time, and they've actually brought in substantial amount of fine money. They have, but they have full-time people working on this stuff. They don't have a person who's hired for 19 hours a week to do zoning and also assigned to something like this, which is a lot. It's a big time consumer. So essentially, I end up doing a lot of the work that a staff person might be doing because he's so involved with zoning. And
Okay, so
we're both pretty busy.
I guess, again, my question, do you think that the fines would cover hiring more people to work on this?
Well, the fines might cover hiring. I wouldn't hire another attorney. What I would do is hire, depending on your need for full-time staff or another part-time person. Maybe you could hire a part-time person whose time is dedicated to enforcing the blight ordinance until we get some of these real problem properties fixed up.
Okay, so can we talk about
There
that?
are such properties in every town. You're right.
Can we talk about this at our next meeting then with Scott here, as you requested, Jeff? so that we can maybe ask him how far he wants to go with this, if he wants to start finding everybody to cover this or not. Because we're either gonna find everybody to cover the cost, or we're gonna just kind of have to deal with what's being done. Because I would guess if we ask Dennis, that other Board of Selectmen probably don't get involved in this as much.
That's because they have
No, they
budgets.
don't.
So you have to make it a money-making venture and hire the appropriate level of staff. And if
Yeah,
that's what
that's
you're
right.
choosing to do, you go and do it, but this.
Is that a
this-
motion, Jeff? I second it. I second your motion.
My first motion was, let's wait for Scott because he's really invested in this.
I
And
like your
Eric-
second
and
one.
Eric needs just guidance. And he's trying to sit there and be nice, where he's sitting there saying, Scott is asking me to do this. I want everybody else to weigh in on it. And I don't want to offend Scott. And Scott is really passionate. He cares a lot about the town and what it looks like. So he has probably a list. He probably has a personal list of 20 or 30 properties that need to be
But
taken.
what you're saying is that your money-making venture motion would work. So again, I
Yes,
second the
yes.
motion.
It would work. It would not make anyone happy, but it would work. Just like everything else in this community, we need to make money-making ventures to fund and supplement the tax revenue that's generated.
20
like our
people
field,
sounds like a
like
money-making
everything
venture.
else. So, but no, I'm ready to pass on this until Scott comes back.
I'd
So
like
you-
to report on the I'd like to report next month on the two cases that I'm handling with Jim Halsey.
I would love to go to
Because,
executive session and get information on those two cases next month.
Yeah. I won't talk for any more than 3 hours.
All right, let's
No,
go.
I-
Come on, just
20 minutes,
where we
15
started
minutes.
from. When we started from, Adrian just cost me dinner tonight. So that just took a
Oh.
half an hour. Just cost me.
What do you want? I'm gonna Uber eat something for you right
Yeah.
now.
Uber does not deliver where I'm sitting. I will guarantee you that. So let's go.
Are you in jail?
Almost.
They deliver everywhere.
Let's go. Eric, what do
All
you
right,
got?
let's go.
Okay, so next thing up, in the next couple are kind of interrelated. So our big bus has problems again. We just got it out of the shop to a tune of like $5,800, and it's leaking oil again from a different spot. It would be expensive to actually fix it. It's also having problems accelerating. Dubois said he thought they probably needed a new fuel filter. And then the other problem would be about $3,000 to fix to deal with the oil leak. This thing has reached the end of its life expectancy. You know, we're just throwing money at this thing at this point, and we're not running it enough to justify our costs in owning it. So the registration expires in August. I would like to basically retire the thing at that point. We can deal with the oil leak isn't that severe. We can deal with the oil leak until then. I just don't see throwing more money after it. As far as
So we can't buy a new bus, right? Because we've had problems trying to buy one. Can we look at getting a used one or something? Or what is the plan to deal with this from a transportation point of view?
Okay, so eventually, as in 2024, we have been informed that we will now get our 12-passenger bus in 2024. So what happened is it got delayed, and then this year there were no chassis built, or there were no frames built to put a chassis on to deliver. So it got put off. What the state did is they took this year's allotment of federal funding, and instead of issuing any more applications to purchase buses, they said, okay, everybody we promised a bus for the last 2 years that we haven't delivered, we're spending all of this money adding it to that pool so we can pay for the new cost of the buses. So we have been informed that the bus is still fully funded and that we will get it supposedly next year. So that's when we're getting the additional bus.
Okay,
In the
that's
short,
great. That's out there. Just I'm just gonna ask, and I understand do we have enough equipment to deal with the seniors, deal with the AES requests and Cool's requests?
I personally think no, but
Okay, then I'm
you know,
gonna
I
sit there-
would like
I'm gonna
Kathy
sit-
to weigh in on that, because she's the one that handles actually getting the request from the seniors on that.
Then they're the 12 passenger bus. So Kathy, weigh in on this, please. Do you have vehicles enough to help seniors and do the school and Cool program?
Right now, I'm working on doing just that. I am able to help Cool the month of June, when they start back in Cool Camp, June 19th through the 30th. I'm able to cover that. However, there are some days when my driver who can drive that big bus cannot do it. The problem is, and Amy has asked me this, can she, when she gets her license in July, can she use the small bus? And right now, the answer is no, because I have both vehicles out. However, having said that, I heard what you said tonight, that I will be getting a car. If that comes to fruition, let's just take a date, July 8th, 9th, that'd be great. Because if that happens, then I can say, other than taking the seniors, I have 5 trips booked for them. And I also have every Tuesday, they have to go shopping. And every Wednesday, they have to do food cheer and food cheer. And Fridays, they need it for lunch. So we can work around that. We can work around Amy. And I'm willing to do that, but I'm asking, what time frame are you thinking that you will have a car put in the driveway so we can actually use it?
Well, we just voted on it tonight. to
And I
sit there
can't
and do
answer
it.
that question until we put a deposit on it. I can't answer that question until we have a deposit. So hopefully if I can go tomorrow and Garrett, can I get a check from you tomorrow and take it to the dealer, or do we, what else do we have to do?
Tell me how much you want the check for.
All right, I will be in your office tomorrow morning.
Okay,
Jeff, I suggest that you coordinate with Kathy Palazzi, because she is very good at getting what she wants. Maybe you could give her the name of the salesperson in charge of getting you the vehicle. She could check in with him regularly.
I'm
okay,
actually gonna
so-
check with 2 dealers and see who can get it to us the quickest. But
And don't forget to
probably
get
gonna
it,
go with Lynch.
Jeff, don't forget to ask for the senior discount as well.
We're already getting it an invoice now, Kathy, so.
Thank you, Jeff. So that's to answer your question. I don't know if I helped you, Jeff, at all, but that's what we are right now. Right now, I may not be able to do every day, but we are going to work it out. I'm going to work hard tomorrow. I'm going to look at it again and see what I can find out for her for July, that I can help her make sure those kids get to Cool Camp.
Okay, so basically, Eric, your information here says it will require us $3,000 to register that vehicle again.
Probably 3,500, because I think it needs it needs a fuel filter repair also at a minimum.
Right.
So you're looking at 3,500 to 4,000 to keep the big one on the road. But for how long, I don't know, because I mean, we're having fairly continual problems with that sucker. And the question is, do we put the money into it? Do we just take the thing out back and shoot it? And then if we do or we don't, do we consider the commitments to the pool program and the school? Because both of those are up for grabs right now.
Yes, you do. You put the 3,500 into it because you sit there and that's what you do. I mean, I know it might not be, you might not want to do it, but you do it. So unless Jeff Murray finds out the vehicle comes in tomorrow and gets done, you honor your commitments to the school and to Cool, because that's the right thing to do. So,
Okay, so you want a contract for summer transportation for AES. You want one produced, because we don't have a contract right now. We don't have anything right now.
please, a one-page one that's not very difficult to wrap our heads around and do. So
Well, not for nothing, but are we positive, Kathy, that we can accommodate if we get you a car by then?
Yes, other than I told you, I would work it out with shopping. I have to take the people shopping on Tuesday and they don't get back till 12:30. I need to get the cool kids to the lake at 11 o'clock in the morning, and I need to get a vehicle to get them back at 12:45. So that's what I'll be looking at tomorrow, and tomorrow I can give you a definite answer.
Well, maybe we could put everybody on the bus at the same time and Cool could pay the seniors to watch the kids. They're
Maybe
looking
you're
for-
right. That sounds good. And the
they were
seniors
looking for
love
help,
it.
so. Just a thought, trying to multitask here.
I'll do the best I can.
Thank you, Kathy. So Eric, let's just put something in there that, that the town will do its best to accommodate the schedule, blah, blah, blah,
So the question is, are we going to authorize Eric to put potentially put $3,500 into the vehicle?
Hey, back up a second. Valerie just put something up that she has a summer wheelchair. Can somebody unmute her so she can elaborate on that?
She has a wheelchair student that needs the van. That's what this is about.
But is it summertime?
Yes.
All
she-
summer
they're
or-
here. They've asked July 6th, July 11th,
Wait.
July 13th, July.
Excuse me, Jeff, may I speak, please?
Yeah, you're,
Yeah.
of course.
Thank you, Jeff. Yes, Taylor has contacted me a while back and asked that we provide 7 days in July, a Tuesday, Thursday, to take the little boy, disabled boy, and take him to school. And I automatically said, yes, I would work it out. I did not realize that Eric had not been informed, and I apologize to Eric because I did not know that. But I did contract with Taylor verbally. I contacted and sent her an email that yes, we would do it. I have put it on the schedule. I have the driver, I have the bus, and I'm hoping you'll give me permission to do that.
Again, it's one town. It's money that's going to be spent in another bucket if we don't do it.
If we don't spend that $3,500, is there any way we could contract with EastCon or something for the student for those days?
Well, let's
Or with another
unmute-
service or another
unmute-
service?
unmute Superintendent Bruno.
I mean, if we're gonna return
Valerie's
the bus and they
saying-
got
Valerie's
$3,500
saying
kicking around, then
Valerie is saying $300 a day. So there's 1,
Right.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days. And is that both ways or $300 one way?
One
Can I
way,
Unmute her.
one way, Jeff.
One way. So it's $600 a day. Accurate? Am I doing my math correct?
Yes,
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, $4,200.
I can do it for less, and I have it already scheduled on.
Eric is saying we can't do it for less because we have to do the repair. This is all about a repair. Has nothing to do with a driver. Yes, we can do it for less for hourly rate, but it's a question of if the actual repairs are in the range of what Eric's saying, it's probably better to spend the money on EastCon, but that's Eric, really find out, take it to whoever to get an evaluation of the number. Are you just throwing a number out or you actually went and got a quote?
We have a quote.
So Kathy, you got a quote for $3,500.
Yes. Oh,
I
but
mean, we just spent $5,800 to get this thing. And we're already a month later throwing more money into it. It's something I've said roughly a year ago, that the thing has reached the end of its life expectancy. Can we keep plugging the thing along? Yes, but at what point do we pull the plug? What happens if we blow an engine? I mean,
Well, you're not wrong, Eric. Where we're at, we're in a very, it's a situation that's Kathy got a new vehicle a year ago.
I know.
waiting. So
Almost 3 years ago.
this is just, it's a situation that we shouldn't be in. You would have retired this vehicle if the new vehicle had come in. So we're just trying to limp this along.
Have we looked at trying to buy another, I mean, a small bus that could accommodate this? Like, you know, a used bus versus a new one. Have we looked at that?
There's not a lot of used vehicles around for anything, are there?
Yeah, usually everything I was looking at is pretty run into the ground, just like what we have now. So we're just gonna kind of repeat the same problems. I don't know if it'd be possible if we could just, can we rent like an 8-passenger van or a 12-passenger
You
van?
need one that has wheelchair access.
Yeah, something for a month, or not even a wheelchair access. We could use the wheelchair one to haul the student. We had another higher capacity van that we could use to haul the seniors. You know, like a 12-passenger or something from a rental agency just for a month. Just to look into it. If it was $1,000, $1,500, it's still gonna work out cheaper.
Agreed.
Okay, Kathy, can you look into a rental of a van, or Eric? Which one wants to do
I mean,
that?
I know Avis rents them out of Bradley. There's a bunch of rental agencies that rent those vehicles.
I can do that tomorrow if Eric wants me to.
So Jeff, you're gonna figure out if we can get the RAV4, and then but let me step back. Even if we get the RAV4, if we stop using this vehicle, do we have anything that's wheelchair accessible? Still
Yes.
available?
We still have two vehicles that are wheelchair accessible. We have a van and we have another 12-passenger bus.
Right.
So, I mean, presuming nothing breaks, you know, but I mean, we are compromising in the sense that we're giving up on some medical transports to supply the cool program and to supply the AES. So I just want you aware of that's what we're talking about. Now, we will be able to supplant that as soon as we have a RAV4. And that should get us out of the worst. As long as neither of our other two vehicles break, we should be okay. Not great, but okay.
Okay. So first thing is Jeff Murray, let's sit there and see if we can get the RAV4 as early as possible. Let's look into renting potential vehicle. And then I guess the question ends up being, if all of those things fail and they mathematically don't work, do we just put $3,500 in? Those are the three options. None are good. Today is June 12th. Our meeting next month is when? Probably July 6th, right when the school needs their first pickup.
July 10th.
July, no, July 7th, I think. Darn it. I gave you the dates. What was the dates? July 6th is the first time I need that,
And
July 6th.
Our meeting is July 10th. So does anyone have a problem with authorizing Eric to go through the 3 steps in the group to sit there and see which is the most cost effective, and then just execute the most cost effective? You know, we're basically going to sit there and go, okay, the RAV4, if we can do it and move the student and assist cool, then Eric doesn't have to spend the money. But you're also telling me that van is running, right? Or it's running poorly.
It is running, and I think we're going to have to use it to transport a couple senior events right now. So we were gonna limp it along till August 1st anyway, unless it fully blows up.
Are we talking about the van or the bus?
The bus.
Okay, all right. I thought there was something wrong with the van. Okay.
No, as
Okay,
far as I
so-
know, the van and the small bus are both running moderately well at the moment.
Okay, so just, Eric, go through the steps, try to find out for a rented van if we can do that and it's cost effective. That's great. Jeff Murray, you're gonna find out when we can potentially get a vehicle, the RAV4, and then we probably will need to do this somehow as a group, just communicate about potential repairs if it all fails. I would limp along until you determine you absolutely need to spend the money. And if you have to spend the money, we as a community spend the money. It's just my take.
And we gotta get that contract together.
Correct. Okay, let's keep going. Eric?
All right, so on that case, I will put together a AES renewal contract for the summer. And aside from that, we're on to the minutes.
One last thing. When is Amy Knox? You know, we had a meeting that we voted to put Amy Knox in and get her certified. Is that not happening?
July 7th. She
That's
goes
what-
for her test July 7th. Right now, she's being trained.
Okay. All right.
So
that's
she
good.
is on the payroll of the town.
All right.
Right now, we only have one driver that can drive either the summer program, the Cool Kids, and that same person is the only person that can drive the student for AES. Because AES still does not have any of their own drivers, nor does the Cool program. Both of which, both entities agreed to have a long time ago.
Okay,
And
but
don't.
Amy, we made accommodations to get Amy trained, so she's getting approved on July 7th. So
Maybe.
we're making progress. She'll pass. I have total faith in her.
But Jeff, please understand what I said earlier. Yes, she will get her license. There's no doubt about it in my mind, because I have our other driver right now, Susan, training her. She's doing a great job. So I have no problem with that. My problem will be
You don't have to-
starting July 9th. I don't foresee that she can use our vehicle right now to get the kids to the camp, because my driver has to go, is taking care of the student. So we-
Understood, understood.
Unless, and still, I can't have my driver, who's the only one qualified, I can't have her driving the van to take the student at the same time she's driving the bus to take the Cool Kids. So you have to let us work it out, because we know what we're doing. I know what I know. I know what I'm doing.
Then work it out. And then our
Okay.
issue is, do we spend the money to repair the bus? That's all we're trying to do.
How
So
many,
let's
how
work-
many,
let's-
how
let's work it out.
how many days or how many weeks do we need the van for? Is it a whole month? Is it a whole summer? Is it 2 months?
Yes, the month for the AES student, it's 7 times in July. It's in your packet, the exact dates. For the Cool, it's June, after the kids start, June 19th, and it'll be through July and part of August.
Yeah, so
But
the-
here, can I interrupt for a second here? My thought is, when Kathy's looking at her schedule, the student gets dropped off at AES first. The Cool Kids are not going to the lake right away.
Correct.
There's gonna be some time in between where the student gets dropped off, the Cool Kids go to the lake, then the driver goes back, brings the student home, and goes back and picks the kids up. So
Perfect.
I'm guessing that this will work out timing wise.
Yes,
And I know that Amy's gonna, work around that with getting the kids back and forth from the lake. So it's not like a bus run in the morning where, the bus is leaving and going around and picking kids up for an hour. I'm envisioning that the schedule is gonna work out.
That we're gonna be flexible and it's all gonna work properly. Okay,
yes.
I still come back to the same question that this Eric's raising. Do we have the right vehicle? And will we have the right vehicle to do that?
I'm guessing, I don't think that there's, I mean, I can't speak for the cool program and however many kids are gonna be there every week. If they have to do a couple of runs with a van instead of the bus, I think they'll make it work. I don't think they had a bus in the past. I think Michelle Vale was driving the van, but I don't know. I'm sure that they have to
Pretty
do.
sure she was driving the 20-passenger bus.
She was driving the bus, okay. Well, I mean, if they have to use the van, I think they'll be okay. I don't know,
So
unfortunately.
I'm seeing prices around $3,000 a month for a van rental. The problem is most of them are sold out over the time period that we're looking.
Are you looking through like Datco, or what are you looking through? Who's the
I am
vendor?
looking to commercial vendors, so Avis Commercial, Budget Commercial, Enterprise Commercial. They have 12 passenger rental vans for like group trips, so.
Okay, so that's a potential option, but they're sold out. So that's,
Yeah, and that's gonna be the problem, is most of these things get booked quite a far in advance, but
okay. All right,
Yeah.
so we have to work together to figure this one out. It's got to get done. And the best case scenario would be that we get to use the vehicle that's in question up until everybody is satisfied, and then it fails. Right, Eric?
I guess.
Okay. All right. Let's move on from this to, are you done with everything? I mean, you still have the panel to review the RFPs. We did that. We talked about the purchase of the squad rescue pumper for the fire department, right? Didn't we do that?
Yep. You've gone through all those
Right.
in my administrator's report, so you're good there.
So item 14 is the approval of the meeting minutes for May 8th, 2023. I make a motion that we approve them.
I'll second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
I,
Excellent. 15, the tax collector's report. I didn't see refund requests. Did we have any, Eric?
No, she did not give us any refund requests.
I didn't think so. So, I mean, we're pretty good on total collections for this fiscal year. We were really close on all of the categories.
Yep.
I mean, we only have a total of less than $200,000 to collect from the current fiscal year that we're collecting on. So, okay. Now let's get to the next part. So where am I at? Any questions on the tax collector's report for Eric? No, excellent. Any questions on all of the other departmental reports? The last one, which is the best one, was prepared by Kathy Palazzi, and that was senior transportation. All right.
Thank you.
Problem. Let's move on to correspondence. Eric, do you have any?
No, I just want to say, the one really good thing we have is we have the full public works department back at work. Everybody that's a town employee is off the disabled list at the moment. So we're firing on pretty much all of our cylinders, which is good.
And then I'm going to skip 18. I'm going to go to public speak before we move on to executive.
Jeff,
session. Yes.
excuse me, Jeff.
Yes.
Did you address the matter that Paula brought up about the 3-on-3 soccer tournament?
Yeah, I
Oh.
added two things.
Yes, I am so sorry. 13.
I okay.
Dennis,
I
you
have an
should,
interest in,
you should be running the meetings.
no, please.
All right,
please,
13G, signage, veterans field, Veterans Memorial Field.
Okay, so last week we had a meeting with some of our board members and Eric regarding the gentleman that's using the field at Long Hill. And he was asking if he could put some signage up on the fence promoting his soccer club. So Scott, weighed in on his concerns with that. And then I said, well, let's all have a conversation tonight. If if we are agreeing on that, then I told him we would let him know once we kind of talked about that tonight. So he's thinking about putting some banners and signs up on the fence at Long Hill, promoting his Vale Soccer Club. And he was also saying that he talked to Ram Youth Soccer as well. I did not talk to the president of Ram Youth Soccer, but he said he talked to her and said that he was willing to put up and pay for a banner up on the fence as well for her and Ram Youth Soccer. So I just want to have a discussion to see how everybody felt about signage up there, pros, cons, thoughts.
So
I don't really,
just,
I don't really have a problem with those types of signs. What I have a problem with is if it becomes an issue and they're starting to multiply, and there's other organizations that get on without us doing it because they were told they could put signage up. I don't want somebody to sell the signage for the benefit of their organization and not compensate the town for the effort that they're putting forth to maintain that field. That's it. I have no problem with them putting up a sign. Put it up for the season, take it down, put it up for the season, take it down. It's not a permanent fixture.
I would agree as well.
so I just have a couple things. One is that Hammer, when they were using the softball field, did put a sign up on the Hammer field when they used it. So that's one point. I would also say that I'm fairly neutral on it. I don't personally have a problem with the signage. But Scott, who's the person who has been most involved with the field, is very adamant that he does not want to see the signage up. So again, that's not my opinion, but I feel that it's worth voicing his opinion because he was pretty adamant about it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
after talking to Scott, I sort of side with Scott on this one because, I mean, we let one person do it, we open up a can of worms, and you don't know. May get a bunch of other people that want to put signs up, and then when do we start saying no?
Well, listen, if somebody's renting the field and they're cooperating with the town to run a program, then those are the people we say yes to. And if they're not, then we say no.
Yeah, but yeah, and to your point, they're renting the field. They're not buying advertising space on the fence.
Or we turn it into
If they're
a money
running- if they're
venture
running-
and we rent the signage space.
Say
You
that
know,
again.
most of the people that are going to come there are going to come there to play that soccer league. They're not going to come there because of the sign. They're going to go there because there's a soccer game going on and those
But
people are
the point
registered
is
to play
for
there.
townspeople, there are multiple ways to get the words out to townspeople, whether it's signage on a fence, Facebook groups, direct contact with other people that are in that sport. You need in order for programs to be successful, they have to get the word out as many different ways as possible. And the whole point of this is to do something for Andover youth. So we're doing that. Why aren't we using every available avenue to let people know it's there? You know?
Well, Paul, when does he need to know? I mean, he
Uh,
doesn't even have any programs. This is more for the fall.
Yeah, he was gonna put it up. He was suggesting for the fall season. So maybe we can talk about this next month when Scott's back. And
Absolutely. I love that idea. When someone's committed to an issue, we let them be the lead speaker. I'm in.
all right. I would like to, I mean, I already know Scott's stance, but I think if everybody's
Sorry,
listening.
I'd like to debate him on that one because I honestly have no problem with someone putting up a sign. And I have no problem with the Recreation Commission selling space down there to put up signs to the local landscaper that wants to advertise to the people that are walking the track. I don't have a problem with that kind of stuff. That's me. As Adrian said, use what you got. So, okay, let's go. Next point. Next one. 13H, 3-on-3 summer tournament.
Okay, so there was a town resident that came to me who I know, and he is offering opportunity for kids in our district to attend a summer program that he's willing to run with someone else down at Long Hill. So the opportunity is, it's 3 days a week, I believe 3.5 hours. And he's charging a fee for the players. It's kind of like a 3-on-3 tournament style camp for kids. And he wants to do 2 weeks.
Soccer,
Pardon?
soccer.
Yes, soccer. I left that out. The best sport ever, soccer. So he's looking
Like,
to
is
use
this
that-
American soccer or is this European soccer?
really.
That would
Doesn't
be
matter.
football. Except,
I don't
except
know.
I found out, I found out in Ireland, they actually call it soccer. I did not know that, but they call it soccer because of Gaelic football, because football to them is Gaelic. Soccer is soccer. England calls it just football. Just
Okay.
fun facts. Go ahead.
All right.
Cheers. Cheers.
man.
Learning something. So we originally talked about this, couple of concerns came up. So just wanted to make sure that we have a discussion tonight and answer any questions, comments, or thoughts. Adrian and Dennis worked on a contract to have this individual be an independent contractor. The payments would come into the town hall. This is a town of Andover opportunity for student 5th, 6th, 7th graders. And we would be collecting payment and the promotion, all the marketing pieces are going to be worked on by the individual that's going to be running this. So thoughts, comments, concerns? Let's talk about this.
I guess I'll start off if you want. Paul called me and talked to me about it. She said, and we were good with it as long as the rec commission got behind it, is what the rec commission voted on. Then I knew what the rec commission spoke about, and what their decision was, is they were going to permit this individual to have the tournament. The town was going to collect the entry fees and they were going to turn them over to this individual. And he was going to manage the money and the payments to the entities for trophies, referees, and et cetera. When I saw the contract come through, it looked like we were using town resources, i.e. the treasurer and the town clerk, to process these payments and pay our vendors. I don't know what Eric's thoughts are on that, but I think our treasurer is pretty busy right now to be processing payments for the soccer. And that's not what the rec commission, this contract is not what the rec commission voted on. So we have a discrepancy there.
So
that's why I raised the flag and I sent to you the other day and I said, look, this does not match what the rec commission agreed to do. And I don't want to sign something that, they did not agree to participate in, as far as in committing the treasurer and the town clerk to doing extra work that they didn't, vote, the commission didn't vote.
Listen, I agree with you to an extent. The problem is, it's not up to the rec commission to decide whether the treasurer's office can or cannot, or has the staffing bandwidth to handle something. It's not up to them. The rec commission should be deciding whether or not something is good for the town or not. Either you want soccer or football, whatever the heck you go to call it, you want that for the town kids or you don't. So if you do, then you support it and you do it in the best way, or in the way that's best for the town. They made agreement where they were gonna have this person collect all the money. It was rec affiliated, but they were gonna collect the entry fees, but then give him the money. The problem with that is now we've got a program that's being run. We don't actually have any control of the money at all. So if these people don't get paid, or if there's a problem in the program or somebody gets hurt, we're letting somebody else handle all those funds, and the town of Andover is going to look bad if there is a problem. Now, not for nothing, but there was some concern from the rec commission, specifically, Carol had some issues in the past with this individual running a basketball program. Now, I don't know the details of that, so I'm not going to get into that too much, but my understanding is that there was, he was maybe overwhelmed with the program that he was running at the time, and was not tracking what was coming in and what was going out, and there was an issue with something getting paid or not paid. If the town is going to affiliate themselves with anybody, and we're gonna sponsor these types of things, and we're sponsoring it by default of saying the rec commission is okaying this, right? So as soon as you decide you're going to sponsor it, you're responsible for it. So why would we be responsible for something?
Adrian, that's not true. I mean, with the biking events, we ran and collected the money and everything. The town wasn't involved in any of it. We ran it all ourselves. All the
You ran the
races,
whole,
all the running
exactly.
races I've done on my own.
Exactly. Though, but they don't, it's not the town of Andover doing that race, right? And the town of Andover is not collecting any of the money and then handing it over to the biking people, are they?
No, and we're not, and I wasn't employing our treasurer and our town clerk either.
Right, but this person is, so if they're. the
Yeah, and
town's
we're,
gonna-
and we're getting, the town is only, we're gonna use those resources and we're gonna come, you know what we're gonna make off of this? About $400.
How do you figure?
Because we're gonna get about 15% of his entries, and that's what the amount's gonna be about.
15%. Go ahead.
What's that? So
No, go ahead. You
15%.
said 50%.
15.
Yeah, I know. I wrote the contract. He was at 10. I got him to 15. I know what he was offered.
But what I'm trying to tell you is if we're gonna use this resources in this amount, our town clerk and our treasurer and our field for $400 to let this individual come in for profit and and pay us $400, I got a problem with that.
Well, it could be $400 or it could be $1,500. It depends how many entry fees he gets, right?
Yeah, well, if he gets 1,500, if he gets his max entry fees, he's gonna walk away with about $4,000 or $5,000.
No, it's actually split between him and other people. It's him and a partner.
Yeah, but to
And-
combine, they're gonna pull away with about $5,000.
Listen,
Right.
if the town wants to run the whole thing and make the money, I don't care. That's up to the town, but I don't see anybody stepping up to do that.
I'm
I
just,
do see
I'm
the-
just trying to protect the town and the
I
employees. that
understand,
work-
but so the town isn't gonna offer something unless it's a nonprofit, like the biking thing?
No, I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying the town needs to be, if we're gonna use the town resources to this level, if this person, the bike events and the running events that we put on in the past are nonprofit, all the money's been turned over directly to the town.
Exactly.
Now we have somebody coming in that's a for-profit entity using our resources and we're getting 15% and they're using our fields.
But we don't have anybody, we don't have resources in town to run these events. We don't have people stepping forward and saying, I want to run this program. We do have somebody doing pickleball, we have somebody doing this, but we don't have anybody stepping up to do soccer. So I think it's unfortunate, and I do.
Oh, sure we
think
do,
that
Adrian. My son participates in Ram soccer all the time. There's comp teams, there's
in
all kinds of
Ram
things. going on.
soccer, not in Andover.
Of course, he's playing on an Andover team, regional team. There's tons of kids. in
Okay,
Andover.
guys, let's just sit there and go. So Jeff, if your issue.
I mean, I'm just echoing Scott's concerns that he forwarded it to us.
No, I get it, but I disagree with it. I think if it's
Well,
good
we
for the
could
kids,
disagree,
I don't care if somebody makes money as long as it's good for the kids. I
Okay,
don't,
then
as long as
I'm
it's
telling you
not-
right now, you're opening up, we did have a problem. We had to get.
We're
the
already,
gentleman that was-
listen, Jeff, we're already doing it.
Yeah, but we already had an issue. What about the guy with the running race that was walking out of here with $3,000 to $4,000? And he was saying he was donating money to the food pantry.
Okay, but that
Same
and
thing.
that didn't happen. So right, and so in this particular case, the town collects the money, so we know we're gonna get paid. But my other question would be,
$400.
my other question would be, what's going on with the softball? Is that a nonprofit?
Yes.
It's completely nonprofit. The guy doesn't get paid.
Yeah, it's like Little League baseball.
So he doesn't get paid to do any of that stuff.
Those are real volunteers.
Yeah, this is an exception. What you're
This is
proposing is an
this is
exception.
what I believe the town should focus on the field, is utilize the resource to make as much money as we possibly can to maintain that field and pay for it all. That's why I'm not adverse to using the fence as advertising space. In this case, this individual, you can't look at it in the negative. You can't look at this individual in this as negative, because all he's trying to do is give kids an opportunity to participate in a sporting event during the summer when they don't normally do it. He's asking us to listen.
For profit. He's not doing it
I
for
don't
free.
care. I
Right.
get it. I get
Can I
it.
ask a question?
Sure.
If it was me running it, would that be a problem? I feel like the overarching issue is because there was a potential issue in the past. I think that we have to look at the big picture.
And let's talk about the overriding issue, because I'm
Right.
the closest to that issue of anybody on this call.
Well, Jeff, why even have a rec commission if we're not going to do what the rec commission voted on doing?
Because the
Why
rec commission
If
overstepped
we're just going to go and do
rec-
whatever we want anyway.
the rec commission overstepped its bounds by including whether or not the town was okay with collecting the money or not in the treasurer's office. That is not their purview. Not their purview. Their purview is
Adrian,
whether or
is it
not.
yours? Is it yours, Adrian, without bringing it to
That's
the
the
Yeah.
board?
board, it's the board of selectmen. That's why we're talking about it now.
Yeah.
So.
Well,
if
that's why a
Carol
contract ended up
collects-
on my
Carol
lap.
and the town
No
clerk
discussion.
collects all of the money for rec basketball. I realize that it's a town program. I do get that, right? So I understand that we're collecting the money for rec basketball. This is a little different. It's a little different, right? Someone else is running the program, right? And we could sit there and get I mean, honestly, that's honestly what the rec commission should be doing, is running these types of programs and getting people to volunteer to run these types of programs. Okay, we don't have that just yet, but now let's sit there and say we allow this to happen. The town gets $400 to put into its rec commission budget,
Or if they get max $1,500.
or max $1,500.
Well,
And
you could
at
always.
least we understand, Jeff,
30%,
sorry.
Make
Dennis,
it 35%.
You could.
That's what,
Charge
that
the
is
guy
my,
more.
I-
That,
exactly. I have no problem with that, but the town employees, if we're gonna use these resources, we need to make sure we're compensated for our
I
time.
love these conversations. Now we're starting to think the way that I'm with it. I'm with
Sure.
it, Jeff Murray. I'm
But this
with you.
15% was just if we were collecting the money and letting them use
But
their
Jeff,
field.
it's also a
Oh,
start.
it wasn't, it wasn't,
Also,
Jeff.
listen, it's also a
10%.
start.
It was 10%. It was
Okay.
10%. We-
Doesn't
we
matter. It's a
discussed-
start. Someone's looking to do something.
Right. And I thought we were trying to, the idea was that I didn't think it worked at 10%. And so I actually reached out to the individual and said, listen, this doesn't work at 10% for the town. You're asking us to do too much work for not enough money. It just doesn't work. And
I
his
still feel that
concern
way
was,
now.
And I would go inside with Jeff Murray that
Right.
what should happen is we collect the fees and we take the town's 15% and turn the remainder over to the individual and to the contractor and say, pay all the bills, because he's paying for the t-shirts, he's paying for the referees, he's paying for anything else that he believes is required to run the tournament correctly.
That's what I say. I just say we collect the fees, we take our percentage, we give them the money, and we move on.
but you're not gonna be covered by insurance if somebody gets hurt on that field.
Why?
Why?
You would need commercial insurance to do that.
Let's reach out to Kermit.
On his
Why not?
part, and you can reach out to Kermit, you're not gonna be covered. If he does, and
Okay, let's ask one last thing. Kerma has like $150 policy that we can sit there and it's 15% plus the cost of the supplemental policy through Kerma.
say that again, Jeff? They have a what?
If I remember correctly, Kerma had supplemental policies that people could reach out and pay for events. Kerma has some type of
An event type policy.
Yeah, and so you tell them it's 15% plus you have to get coverage.
You know, or else, I mean, the other individual that was down there, he provided his own insurance, correct? The other tournament?
He does, yeah.
So would it be hard to ask him to provide his insurance for these events?
Yes, because I would tell you, he probably is not set up as an entity like
Mhm.
this. I don't know his business structure, but he's just a dad in town.
Yeah, he's not.
not-
He's
I
not set up.
I get that, but I want to make sure that the town is,
Right,
being
and Jeff, he's
compensated
not set up
correctly.
like that. He's not set up like that. That's why we wanted to have the town, if the town contracts him to run it, then the town insurance covers it. But if he has to provide the insurance, it's dead in the water,
So we were thinking,
Yeah,
right, and
We agreed to 50
evaluate this after the first time. If
Right, we thought-
evaluate it- Yeah, we evaluate it this summer and we
100%.
say, hey, next time we have to do it this way or fix it.
Right. And if we want to see, it gives you a chance to see whether it works for him, whether it works for us. And, is it too much work? Is it not bad? Okay, if it's more work than we anticipated, then we increase the percentage for the next time around. And maybe he turns and says, well, I didn't get enough people to do it, so I don't want to do it again. But it was an opportunity to give something to the kids. That's all we're trying to do. And we sent the contract back to everybody once we thought we had something that was workable. And so that we didn't end up in the situation where we did with Cool, where we had 100 contract for crying out loud. So we tried to come up with something everybody, at least on the initial interest, could agree to, with some modifications, because he came up with a contract that didn't work. We sent it to I tried to rewrite it. I sent it to Dennis, who took what I had and turned it into something that was functional for the town. And we went from there. But that's why it came back to everybody to say, hey, does this work for you? And that's why we're having this conversation, but we thought 15% versus, somebody mentioned 35. That we thought 15% was a good starting point for the town to get a feel for it and also him to get a feel for it, because if he only gets 30 kids, he's not making a ton of money either. So, and honestly, I don't care if he makes money, as long as it's in the best interest of the town, we get enough money to cover our, what we're doing. I think that's the important part. And again, giving something back to the kids. So that's my take on
Yeah, but
it.
Adrian, right now at 15%, we are not getting enough money back. We are not.
We don't know that. We
Yes,
don't
we
know
do.
that.
Yes, we do. To 15% of this whole, to run all the payments and everything, it doesn't matter if he scales it or not. It's still not gonna be enough. Because even if you scale it, you're still gonna have the wear and tear on the field. You're still gonna have you're still have more
There's-
entries to process.
There's no wear and tear on the field. I worked all the hours with Scott. He agreed that it was gonna be fine. We're closing that one spot where he's concerned about the bare spots. So there's not extra wear and tear on the field. We calculated those hours in with what Rich Calarco suggested.
There's always, Paula, just me. There's always. wear and tear.
I-
always
I-
wear-
That's what we should be selling for. We should be, and listen, I am personally, I'm supporting it because you got a guy that's willing to go out and do the work to sit there and get kids involved. That is the reason why the community should support an employee of the town to do the rec commission work. Because these are all things that someone could do and set up. Pay coaches to sit there and do the work if they have to. But we could sit there and make money to pay for their salary to sit there and do positive things for the community. That's what we should be doing. I have no problem supporting this until we all come around and say, yes, we have assets like the gym, like the field that can be utilized for good and help fund town needed resources.
Great.
Just-
Let's call the vote.
Well, what was the motion?
The motion is that we should agree to this contract with the for the 3-on-3 tournament, with the stipulation that Eric reach out and see if Kerma has an event policy that we should or could acquire, in which case that would be, I would also want that deducted from the expenses.
Okay, so
Okay,
I'm gonna
but-
second, I'm gonna second that, but I want to ask a question. Further question, very quickly to understand. We are requiring the treasurer's office to pay all of the payments and the vendor checks that are provided for this tournament.
Yeah, we should be looking at about 8 payments out.
That's including referees for every event.
Don't know what the referee count is
Yeah,
gonna be.
the referee counts, you're gonna have to issue checks to all these referees too.
Right. I meant for line expenses. For the referees, I don't know how many is involved. I don't. That's not my field of expertise. You might know better than I would, Jeff. How many refs would be? What do we need? 8? I don't know. So we're talking 16 checks, and we're talking a deposit of a minimum of hopefully 30 payments from parents, maximum of 65 from
Well,
parents.
another thing too, are we gonna have to give these referees 1099s as well? I don't know.
If no, because they're
No,
gonna be,
I mean,
they're
that's,
gonna be.
and
They're
that's a lot
gonna
more
be
paperwork on
under
the treasurer.
$600, so no, we do not. We do have to 1099 him and his partner. But not the refs, not the other people that are being paid, because it's
I
under,
thought he was gonna pay the refs out of his 85%.
no, so
I didn't
it's
worry about that.
the 85% and the 85 and the 15 is net expenses. Expenses first, then everybody splits.
No, absolutely not. Now I'll vote no. It's 15% for the town off the top.
15% for the town off the top, for accepting the applications,
Yeah,
processing the applications, and that's about it.
Is that how? it's-
And the
that's how it's
rest of
written,
it, he's
Dennis?
responsible for. That's the
Is
way
that
I
generally
saw
how,
it.
is that generally how it's done, Jeff? I'm not.
well,
I-
it's not, I mean, this is outside of the normal scope. This is something different, but as far as I'm concerned, if $100 comes in, the town accepted the application. It's getting $15 for accepting the application. It's just a very small
Yes.
amount of money for the use of the field. It really is. And I'm with
Okay.
Jeff Murray on that. I am with him on
Okay.
that. But I am sitting there telling you that if it was me, what I would rather see is $100 comes in, the town takes 15% and remits the $85 to the individual and to the business, and the business does all of the transactions.
I
That's
would
how I
support
would,
that. I would support that 100%.
that's how I would sit there and say, that's the most
I wrote,
logical.
hey, I
understand
wrote the last
Dennis.
draft of the contract. That's the intent.
That's
No,
the,
it says that our treasurer is going to process the payments.
Right.
Is that in the contract?
Yes.
Where is that? That must be, I didn't rewrite the whole thing, but I don't remember that. I thought that
Yeah,
was gonna
that's
be done
right.
by, the
right,
rec
but-
commission.
Okay, so you would want him to pay everything, not the treasurer?
yeah,
Jeff, is our
because what you're doing is you're eliminating the additional work. So what is the work that's on the town? The work is to accept an application, to accept a check from a resident or somebody that's participating, depositing that check, and then turning around and making one transaction out to the group to sit there and run the activity. I understand
Yeah.
your issues, Adrian. I do understand
Yeah.
your issues. If certain things happen and it's a town event, then what's the liability related to that? I
Right.
do get that.
So
That is
I would
the-
only-
And we're hiring two people to run it, and we're gonna pay them 1099s. That's how we're doing it. That's
So
how I would
problem
support
is-
that.
The problem becomes if you transfer the money from the town to him, right? If the
He
checks
doesn't
are
pay
made
them.
up, then he has to cover the whole 1099, then he gets a 1099 for the whole amount, and he's gonna have to show his expenses. So I don't have a problem with that, he just needs to be aware of that. But more importantly, I still think, I don't agree with doing it unless there's some sort of insurance. If you're gonna do it that way, there needs to be insurance coverage. So
Now,
I think
I
it would
would-
contingent on Eric getting a policy.
I would sit there and Jeff Murray, I would sit there and agree with Adrian to cut the checks if it's only 8 checks. It's not that hard.
It's
to
not
do.
gonna be 8 checks though, because there's gonna be so many games. You're gonna have different referees. You're gonna have a trophy company. You're gonna have shirts.
Yeah, so he had shirts, shirts, disposable trophies, refs, and he had, the consumables like, water, whatever. So
Yeah, they're
I
gonna have to
think
pay for it.
he figured he had, he gave us like 8 or 9 line items, and then you're absolutely right, Jeff. However many referees would be also a 1099. So I think you're looking at, however many refs you need. I don't know what you need for a 3-on-3 tournament over 3 days.
And it's gonna depend on how many kids. You can only have two refs or 3 refs.
Yeah, because they can only play a certain number of games at a time, right?
Well, he's probably gonna have
Yeah.
2 or 3 setups, or let's say he has 30 setups. I mean, let's go to Adrian. Let's do the math because we can figure this out. Let's
Yeah,
sit there and say he has 60 kids registered. He's gonna have 20 games. He can't run 20 games because he can't have 10 refs. He might have 5 fields. He might have 5 refs. And then they swap and they put the next kids on and the next kids on. So the refs will continue to work. They might do 3 or 4 games in one session if he has
Okay.
enough teams. So
Right.
I still can't figure out whether you're intending this to all run through the finance department or whether we're collecting the money and just cutting a check to the individual.
I think we're debating that right now.
I
think
would
that's the-
do it that way, Eric, but my concern is with Adrian is not incorrect. And Dennis, this would be for you. What happens if the individual doesn't pay all the entities or doesn't pay them correctly? Are we
I
covered
don't
just
see
by
it
making
being our
payment to him?
Problem. I don't see why that would be our problem.
Yeah, because he's
He's contract-
contracting directly with those individuals.
Okay.
That's
And
right.
that actually puts us on the hook, because if we contract for referees and stuff, and he goes and makes
No.
agreements with people and says the town's gonna pay you, then we're gonna be on the hook for that money.
No, I think it's pretty clear in here that, and I think Adrian wrote most of this and I just kind of massaged it. Right? I thought it was gonna be collected by the town and that, town would take its 15% for taking the applications. And then, just write him a check for the rest of it.
Yeah, it was
Unified.
net, it was set up net expenses, but all you'd have to do is deduct one line from that. If we
Okay.
cut one line from it, it would switch it the other way.
Okay,
So
so then let's switch it, put forth the contract that way where it's collect the fees, take the 15%, remit the remaining 85% to the organization that's running the tournament and run the tournament.
Yeah,
And but we look at an event policy, a one-time event policy.
Correct. We request, we find out from Kermit what a one-time, like, I mean, personally, I don't really necessarily know we need that, but yes, we probably should ask to sit there and see if it's available and we can have him acquire that. And so then we would take the
you notice
15%.
I put a
plus
release in here.
The
I put a
insurance.
release in here for parents to sign.
Yes.
Yeah,
you
but
could-
you and I both know, Dennis, that releases are only as good as the insurance that's paying somebody before they get pissed off. Everybody's
I don't
gonna
know.
sue whether they got a release in place or not, you know?
Oh, they might.
We haven't been sued yet. Let's hope we don't get
Listen,
sued.
I worked at Mount Snow when they got sued for somebody going out of bounds, and it literally said on your jacket, on your ski ticket, no out of bounds skiing. They skied out of bounds, broke their neck, and
Come on, let's not talk about lawsuits right now. Let's keep moving on.
Okay, so we need to,
Make a re-motion and
well,
make.
we have to revise the contract, right? And send, okay, and
go.
send a new one, okay.
But let's make the motion now so we get it approved.
Okay, you make the motion because my head is, I'm still trying to
Any-
catch up and write down.
So we're gonna make the motion to approve the 3-on-3 tournament with a revised contract that stipulates the town gets a 15%
gross collections.
yeah, 15% application fee, and deposits the money and requires the organizers to get an insurance policy for the event. And the contract will be revised accordingly
Insurance policy through us or through him, through Kerma?
through Kerma.
Are we gonna-
If we don't get it through Kerma, he's not going to be able to do it. So we have to figure out how to do.
So
the
it's
insurance.
gonna go through us, but he's gonna pay for it, right?
Yes,
Out of his 85%.
yes,
All right. I just want to understand this because,
yeah,
you know, I'm gonna have to be the one to revise it.
understood.
Tell
With
the truth,
Adrian-
Dennis. You're the de facto member of the board at this point.
With Adrian's help and Paula's help.
You're the fifth
Yeah.
member of the Beatles.
Good.
Dennis, I know you're buried. I'll pull it up and make the
Actually,
correction.
we are Larry, Moe, and Curly.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll
Someone
pull it up
want to
and make.
second that so we can vote?
I'll
Second
second.
We'll make it work.
All right, Paula seconded. All those in favor? Aye.
No, I
Aye.
beat her on the second. I beat her every time tonight. You can't take that away from me. I'm like
Give it-
5-0 tonight.
Hey, wait a minute.
He's the
I-
lead singer in the band. I'm just a groupie. All
I
right,
vote yes.
I want to replay, Paul. I know I beat you on that.
okay, so that was H. Now we're moving on to correspondence. Do we have anything, Eric?
No, we do not.
Number 19, public speak. Let's move through this. Diane Grenier.
She fell asleep.
I'm working it. Here I come. Too many buttons, too many buttons. A couple of things I'd like to say. One, no mention was made of the 175th anniversary activities that have taken place this month. And I think they've done a wonderful job. There's been lots of things, lots of participation, and kudos to the 175th committee. I think they've done a wonderful job.
Thank you, Paula.
The other thing is, this be Eric. I used to find your full report with the agenda. Is your full report out there someplace that,
My
It's in the
full
packet.
report is in the packet. It's not separate from the packet.
okay, because it used to be available for people like
Usually
me.
it would be separate.
It is. It's still in the packet. You just have to download the packet.
Where's
Right.
the packet? I guess I
Right
don't-
next to the agenda on the calendar.
on the
There's two
account.
PDFs.
Okay,
You get everything we get that's publicly available. Full transparency.
but
You
it's
can go
it's on the
back.
calendar. Okay, because I thought it used to be the agenda and then your report was underneath that or something.
Usually
I'll
it was too late to make the packet, so I had her post it separately. This time I actually had it done on time. So
Okay, fine,
That's
thank you.
called progress, Diane. Let's call
I-
progress, Diane.
I will look for it because it's always very informative. I find it helpful. The other thing, and I'm just making this up, you are going into executive session, and Adrian had asked that the community center, senior center would be on that, be a topic to be discussed. And can you do that? Is that a specific reason for executive session? to
Legal.
discuss That sort of thing?
They have engaged an attorney, so yes, we can.
Okay, so you're gonna talk about the legal issue of it.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. That, I just wanted to make sure you weren't just gonna be talking other parts of it. So I wouldn't want to miss that conversation. But okay, and that's pretty much all I have to say. Thank you very much. It's always very informative, everything that you guys discuss. You do a good job, and thank you very much for all you do.
Okay.
Diane, to your question about that, that's why we had this conversation earlier to publicly air any other concerns we have that are not necessarily directly related to the legal issue.
Okay, and that's the part that's gonna be moved to the Board of Ed meeting, right?
What the discussion we had earlier tonight that you heard at the very beginning of the meeting,
Yeah,
that was the part that was not legally related.
okay,
Everything else would
okay,
be legally related, so it's.
okay. And thank you, Adrian, for turning on your video for me.
Oh, I
Video.
turn it off because if the dog is on me or if my wife is coming in and out, I try to be respectful of that too, so.
Yep. But I just think it's respectful to the audience and people to be able to see our elected officials at work, make sure that you're not sleeping or taking text or doing other things that you shouldn't be doing. So I appreciate it.
Our huge viewing audience. Everybody else
huge-
is in the ether.
There they are.
There they are.
Here we are.
We ready? Valerie Bruno. Public speak.
I'm all set for right now. Thank you.
Got it. Joanne Ebert.
I just wanted to add one thing on the 3-on-3 tournament, the soccer. I think that's a great idea too for the kids, whatever you can bring into town. I just hope that, and I didn't see the contract, just that there's enough staff members down there. Obviously with the refs and stuff, I guess that can count, and that they're just properly background checked and all of that kind of thing, just for safety. Thank you.
Ed, and I'm not sure if it's Ed Cerisley or if it's someone other Ed, but I'm taking a guess.
Ed Cerisley here. Can you hear me?
Can.
Wow. Ed is up this late. Hey, Ed.
Yeah, very quick comment on behalf of the community/senior center building planning committee. We all look forward to hopefully a soon to be groundbreaking ceremony as soon as we're done with the review process for planning and zoning. In order that we get most of the heavy duty dirt work done in the summer when the children are away from the property, and that we button up most of the dusty, dirty work while the kids are away.
Okay.
That's from the building committee. Thank you.
All right. Anything else? Anybody else I miss? All right, everybody, thank you very much. We're going to move into, who wants to make a motion to move into executive session? Adrian, why don't you do it?
Make a motion to go to executive session at 9:54.
And invite Eric and Dennis.
I'll
So
second.
moved.
All right. Paula seconded it. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Eric, if you can stop the recording, kick everybody out.